Imagine surviving over 1,000 days of hardcore Minecraft and adventuring through endless moments in time. I've traveled back to the Stone Age to face deadly cavemen, taken on deadly robots from the future, and even explored mystical worlds with the God of Thunder himself. What insane mysteries unfold in this 1,000 days adventure? Grab some popcorn and let's find out. Huh? Imagine being sent back in time to the Stone Age. I will have just 100 days to form the biggest and most powerful caveman tribe in all of ancient history. I will be facing deadly prehistoric enemies, crafting powerful ancient tools, exploring primal locations, and even battling a gigantic T-Rex. Will I survive the bloodthirsty dinos and become the most powerful caveman that ever lived? Let's find out. Day one was extremely intense. I was being chased by a tribe of cavemen, and they were furious. If that spear got me, it would be over before it started. So I took a leap of faith.
You won't get away with this! Ooga, ooga!
I may have escaped those guys, but there were more cavemen to take on. They were chasing after me. I had no choice but to sprint away as fast as possible. I sought refuge in this small building, found a chest, and grabbed some quick loot. My heart was racing. I was cornered. They attacked me with their spear. Just 2.5 hearts. But I managed to sprint away and escape. Woo! So there I was, stranded in the middle of the jungle, and you're probably wondering why these cavemen were chasing me. Well, this is Uga Kingdom, home of the cavemen that will be hunting me down for the next 100 days. Why, you ask? Well, you see this guy? This is the evil Uga, the leader of the Uga tribe, and that skull staff he's holding has special abilities, and I almost got my hands on it until I was chased by his goons, and now I'm stuck here, wondering what ancient and powerful abilities I could have had. If I am to attack again, I'm gonna need to be way more prepared, so I grabbed some wood, made some basic tools, and began my journey to get that staff. I noticed there was some Stone Age gear to craft, the easiest being the stone axe. So I grabbed some cobblestone, combined it with the string, and made myself an ancient axe, which gave me efficiency. It would allow me to collect a ton of resources much quicker. I can't wait to see what the other ancient items do. Whilst I was grabbing cobblestone, I was ambushed by a triceratops. I had no choice but to sprint away. With just half a heart, I couldn't risk dying, so I headed underground. This thing was huge. I headed deep underground where I felt more safe and did what cavemen do best, collecting resources. But then I came across this giant lush cave. This place was absolutely mesmerizing, filled with glowberries and beautiful water pools. This would be the foundation for my new home. With such low health, I needed some food, so I grabbed some glowberries and feasted on their squishy texture. I then headed down to explore this beautiful area, grabbing resources along the way. Whilst I was mining, I heard a strange sound. Somebody was crying. I went to investigate. It seemed to be another caveman. Please don't tell anyone I'm here. I'm being hunted by the Uga tribe.
Oh, it's you they're hunting. Listen, if you can rescue my brother, I promise to keep your secret. I'll even join your tribe.
Wow, thank you. But what happened to your brother?
We were kidnapped by a nearby tribe. I got away, but they have my brother locked up in a cage with no food, and I'm not strong enough to take them on.
Oh no! Can you remember where the camp is?
Yes, they're on the other side of the jungle. You should craft a spyglass. It'll help you get a better view and find where they're keeping my brother. Take this bow too. It's my brother's. It contains an ancient power I've yet to discover.
This ancient bow looked awesome, but I couldn't let it distract me from my mission at hand. I promised this caveman I would track down that camp and bring his brother back all in one piece. So it was time to get to work. I headed out grabbing resources, collecting glowberries for food, and I also got stuck under some gravel because I was trying to get flint.
Hello? Anyone?
I smelted up the ores and crafted a full set of iron armor. Magic. I then headed out to track down some amethyst. It took a couple of days, but I finally found an amethyst geode. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding. Once I returned home, I sorted my inventory and crafted the spyglass. I will use this to spy on the camp. I was also curious to find out what abilities this bow would grant me. It was time to head out and find the caveman's brother. The jungle is an extremely daunting place, and it's filled with dinosaurs, just like these raptors. I had no choice but to defend myself against these ravenous beasts. I was countering their bites with my ancient axe, picking my shots. The ravenous raptors began to back me into a corner and deal serious amounts of damage. With just half a heart, I defeated 2 of the raptors, but I had to run away, regain my strength, and head back in to deal the final blow to the final raptor. All that was left of the dinosaur was its meat. I made it to the other side of the jungle and stumbled across this structure with a winged-like creature sleeping nearby. But as I approached, it launched high into the sky and started spitting venomous goo at me. It began to slow me down. I had no choice but to face this pterodactyl. So many dinosaurs, man. Give me a break. I was ducking and dodging the pterodactyl's venomous spit and then striking it with my ancient axe, finally defeating it. I then investigated the area in hopes to find the camp, but there was nothing here. So I decided to get a better look and head up top and use the spyglass to see if I could see something. Into the distance, I noticed a very light array of smoke in the horizon. So I decided to wait until sunset to see if I could get a better look of the nearby camp. The smoke was really obvious now. This had to be the camp that the caveman told me about, so I headed in for a better look. I used my spyglass to scope out the area and try and find the caveman's brother, but all I could see was tribesmen. This place absolutely reeked of danger, so I decided why not use the bow that the caveman gave me and uncover the powers that he spoke of. I pulled the string back and launched an arrow high into the sky. Wow! I was blind, but now I see. This bow's power highlights enemies. This would make my life a lot easier when I'm sneaking through the camp. It was mesmerizing. I waited until the next day before I decided to head into the camp. It was my time to strike. I pulled out my skull bow and struck the first caveman. I then jumped down and continued to bash him with my axe. He was trying to stab me with his spear, but he stood no match, and I struck him down. He dropped a skull that I could use to craft things with later on. With the combination of my ancient bow and ancient axe, I was making great progress working through the camp. I came across a cage, but there was no sign of the caveman's brother, just this raptor. I snuck through the camp, dodging the enemies, when finally, there he is! I found him! I raced to the cage, told him that his brother had sent me, and freed him from his misery.
Woohoo! You saved me, kid. I'm free!
Not yet, you're not. We gotta sneak out of here. I explained to the caveman that there's still enemies around, so we'd have to sneak out of here as quietly as possible. We managed to get past the first guard, and when I saw a moment to run, I took it! We sprinted as fast as we could away from the camp. We paddled through water and sprinted over land until finally I made it back home. It was so heartwarming to see the 2 brothers reunite. They both thanked me for everything I'd done and offered to help me get my hands on that skull staff. They also asked me the name of my tribe. So how about you guys comment below the best name you can think of? The next day, I decided to do a little bit of building, so I worked on a small area, a workstation where I could store the skulls that I'll use later on to craft ancient weapons. It wasn't the coolest build in the world, but it looked okay for now. I then made some slight improvements, adding campfires here and there because cavemen love fire. And whoa, is that diamonds? How did I not notice them? They've been here the whole time. I love diamonds so much. The little blue twinkle, it never gets old. After this, I used the little resources I had to craft a brutal caveman club. It looked insane, and I was tired of eating glowberries, so I decided to head up top and try and get a better source of food. My first target was this Spinosaurus. He was colossal in size, but I used my brutal caveman club to bonk him on the head and knock him out. I then continued to collect as much food as possible, taking out dinosaurs left, right, and center, including this guy. I tried to use my bow and take it out from a distance, but I had no choice but to close the gap and defeat this beast. These dinosaurs are pretty scary. After killing it, it dropped a ton of food. A good few days of hunting. As the sun set, I was completely overwhelmed by raptors. I didn't think I was going to make it. I sprinted away as fast as possible. I spent the entire night dodging these vicious predators. And once I finally made it back home, I filled my caveman's bellies with dino meat. And also including my own, because I was absolutely starving. If I was going to take out Uga and get that staff, I'd need way more caveman in my tribe. So I decided to head out and start recruiting. Whilst I was exploring, I came across this guy.
Help me! This can eat me alive!
This poor caveman was being attacked by a triceratops, so I headed in with my caveman club and took it out, saving his life.
Wow, thank you. I thought I was toast.
The caveman was so grateful he joined my tribe, so I informed him of the location of my secret base whilst I continued my hunt over the next few days for new members, including these two.
You're the only one that got into this mess. How did you not see the trap rope?
These guys were trapped, so I freed them with my axe.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Great One. You saved us.
My caveman army was growing each and every day. I couldn't believe it. Things were going smoothly until this happened. I had stumbled across a giant skeleton attacking a caveman. I had no choice but to head in to help. I struck this undead beast with my ancient axe, but it was fierce and it was strong. It was doing extreme damage with its spin attacks. This undead creature seemed immortal, and with one strike, it got me down to just half a heart. I sprinted away, grabbed some berries, and decided to pick my shots with a bow. I finally defeated this ancient creature. I've battled dinos, but nothing like this, so I decided to head after the caveman. Hopefully he could explain where this thing came from.
I got too close to the temple, that's all.
Temple?
Yeah, you know, the one where they keep Scar.
Ooh, who's Scar? Sounds kind of scary.
Scar is the T-Rex that almost defeated Uga, the evil Uga. But he struck him down using that skull staff, and the ancients serve any who wields it, so Uga made him lock him up. He's been there many years, that poor dino.
What if I freed him? We could defeat Uga together.
Good luck, kid. Those ancient skeletons are tough.
This was perfect. If I could free the T-Rex from the temple, he could help me get my hands on that skull staff and defeat Uga. So I headed home to prepare, recruiting as many cavemen as I could on the way. It was perfect. They protected me while I collected resources. They followed me everywhere I went. We even found one of Uga's tribe members hunting us, but he stood no match for me and my tribe. I made it back home and I was in awe of how fast my caveman army was growing, so I decided to build a small area in which my caveman could rest up. I had to make sure they were strong and ready to battle Uga when the time comes. But we weren't prepared just yet, so I told my caveman to chill out here whilst I go out and grab some resources. I noticed in the crafting table a couple of ancient tools I could craft with skulls and diamonds, so I headed out to do my favorite thing ever, mining. I spent the next few days mining resources and battling dinos in this beautiful lush cave. Just look at this. It's a caveman's dream home. This cave was riddled with diamonds, so I got to work collecting them up. I stumbled across a mine shaft with chests filled with skulls, so I raced back home as fast as I possibly could, crafted myself the diamond tools, and then used the skulls to upgrade them. And the final result was insane. The skull pickaxe looked awesome, and the skull sword looked deadly. The last few days of hard work really paid off. I decided to give my new pickaxe a test, and then it was time to head out and find that temple. I was going to free that T-Rex. So I got a good night's rest, said goodbye to my tribe, and headed out. I clawed through dino-infested jungles for days and still nothing, until I came to the edge of the island and noticed some ancient skeletons congregated. I was close. These little guys attacked me with no hesitation, juking left and right, trying to flank me, but I used my new sword to take them down. The ancients tried to conquer me with teamwork, but nothing was going to stop me and my new ancient sword. I took the final enemy down. I then continued my hunt for the temple, and finally, I found it. I headed in. This thing was absolutely ginormous, and the ancients were waiting for me. I was determined to find that T-Rex, so I battled the first few minions. They weren't too difficult, but then things got tough.
Be prepared to face death, mortal.
This giant undead beast wielded an enormous blade that dealt tons of damage. My ancient skull sword dealt bleeding damage, so I managed to strike him with my blade and watch as its soul poured from its bones.
You are weak.
The monster towered over me, leaving me with just 1.5 hearts. I had no choice but to eat some food, step away, and start picking my bow shots. And with strategic moves, I finally managed to defeat the beast. It wasn't over yet. I was being targeted by ancient archers, and their bows did extreme amounts of damage. It was kind of surprising for such a small little bow. I regened with food and then chased after this little guy with my caveman club, defeating him. I scaled the giant temple stairway, facing the horrors that the ancients were sending after me. The undead rose from the ground. They were doing everything in their power to stop me from reaching the top, but I was determined to get inside and free that T-Rex, so I took them on with my bow. I cleared the area of the last few ancients, took a deep breath, and headed in. It was freezing in here. This place had been left alone for a long time. There's Scar! I couldn't wait to tell him that I was freeing him from this prison. I jumped down. I was so excited to speak to him. Ta-da! I've come to sit. This was not part of my plan. The giant T-Rex was trying to eat me alive. Listen, I'm the good guy. I'm trying to help you. I was reluctant to fight back, but the T-Rex left me no choice. But it just angered him even more.
The voices.
Ground pound after ground pound. This T-Rex was relentless chasing after me. With a swipe of his tail, he hit me high into the sky. I was losing extreme amounts of damage. The T-Rex tried to swallow me whole. Enough is enough. I pulled out my ancient skull blade and struck him down.
Please, I'm weak.
The T-Rex dropped to his knees. I explained that I'm not the enemy here and that I've come to save him. I didn't want to hurt you.
Too long have I been locked away, trapped and alone.
Not anymore. Cavemen all around have told me what happened to you. I want to help you get revenge for what Uga did.
I have dreamt of revenge. Uga must pay for all of this.
Then let's team up. You get revenge and I get his staff.
I need time to heal. If we are to face his tribe, I must rest. Go craft a saddle. It would be my honor to ride into battle with you. Thank you for saving me, friend.
A new ally on this Stone Age journey. I decided to explore the area in which Scar was kept and found a chest filled with skulls. I also grabbed the resources nearby. I guess it's time to head back. Whilst exiting the temple, I bumped into another evil ancient, but I was in no condition to fight, so I hopped down and clutched with a water bucket. I then headed into the woods and made myself a crafting table to check out the crafting recipe for the T-Rex saddle. I can't wait to ride into battle on a T-Rex. Also, who knew mammoths were so aggressive in the Stone Age? I explored the beautiful landscapes and then eventually made it home, headed up to my crafting station, and I crafted a full set of bone armor using the skulls from Scar's prison. Look how amazing this looks. The next day, I grabbed some members of my tribe to head out and grab the things I would need to craft the T-Rex saddle. It was a solid few days collecting resources, defeating slimes, and fighting mobs, all whilst collecting diamonds along the way. We made a pretty good team, my cavemen and I. The last component I needed was leather, so I killed a few cows, grabbed some leather, and crafted the T-Rex saddle. We were getting closer and closer to getting my hands on that skull staff. I was so excited to give Scar the saddle I had crafted, so I headed down to greet him. But when I reached the prison, he wasn't here. There was no sign of Scar.
Sorry, kid.
Oh, my head.
Uga's paying us a lot of dynamite for this. Don't try anything stupid.
You don't scare me.
Oh, whatever, Uga. Keep talking while you still have a tongue.
Uga must be friends with this tribe if he's paying them to capture me. These guys were terrifying. I had to get out of here as soon as possible, so I started breaking my way out of the cage and sneaking past one of the tribal minions. I managed to locate the chest with all of my loot inside. Now all I had to do was escape. The cavemen mercenaries were furious. I had to think of a way out. I jumped between them, but then I was completely bombarded by the tribe. It was time to fight. Using my caveman instincts, I managed to defend myself against the first wave, but then the mercenary began to battle me with his giant blade. He struck me and sliced me, hitting me into the air. He may have had brutal attacks, but he couldn't withstand the bleeding effect from my sword, and I watched as he dropped to his knees. He lacked the strength to continue fighting on. But it wasn't over! This caveman seemed to be a conjurer of some sorts, and was summoning things from the ground. He used his giant staff to launch attacks at me, doing light damage. He seemed to be regenerating his own health while sporadically spinning that staff high into the sky. His attacks were relentless. I couldn't seem to breathe. I was suffocated by enemies. After the final wave of these encapsulated bugs, he seemed tired, so I headed in to strike him down. After an exhausting fight, I managed to defeat the ones that had captured me. Now it was time to head home through sandstorms. You see, this is why I like the jungle. This is infuriating. The sandstorm was kicking me high into the sky, and every time I tried to make a move, the wind blew me backwards. Once the storm calmed down, I headed home, and it took me days, but waiting for me was Scar. Somehow he managed to find the jungle in which I live, so I headed over to ask him how on earth he managed to find me.
I followed your scent, of course. Now, the saddle boy.
I placed the saddle on Scar's back. This was it, the moment Dino and Caveman become friends. I couldn't believe it. I was riding on the back of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. If this doesn't make me the coolest caveman ever, then I don't know what will. We made the ultimate team and dedicated the next few days to recruiting even more caveman into my army. How could they say no? There's a giant T-Rex there. The cavemen followed me and Scar all the way home. The fight for that staff and the battle with Uga's tribe was just around the corner. But first I wanted to make a small living space for Scar. I wasn't just gonna let him roam around the cave. I kept it pretty simple, terraforming the area using stone brick blocks, all so Scar could have a cozy area to sleep in. It was time to head out and face the Ooga tribe and get that staff. I rallied up my men. My brothers, this will be a tough fight, and some will fall to the Ooga tribe, but together we can defeat Ooga, and we can get that staff. Oh! I headed out with my caveman tribe towards Ooga Kingdom. My cavemen were ready, and so were Scar and I. We headed in. This was the moment. We had penetrated the perimeter and headed in to fight. Scar noticed enemies up ahead. We headed in and battled the Ooga tribe. Men were falling left, right, and center. This was a brutal battle. My tribe and I successfully cleared the area of Ooga's men. The next step was finding Ooga himself, and I needed to do this quest alone. I was in the heart of Ooga Kingdom now, and I could tell that's where the evil caveman was hiding, so I headed in and defeated the bodyguards guarding him. Their sharp spears weren't sharp enough to pierce the bone armor I had crafted. It was time to head up. The giant evil caveman came stomping towards me from the shadows.
Come from the skull staff again, have we?
Yeah, but this time I brought an army. Give it up, Ooga.
You think a few cavemen can save you? This time you won't make it out alive!
Ooga slammed his skull staff into the ground, leaving me with just half a heart. He was way stronger than I anticipated, so I had to create some distance and pick my slices. I was slipping and ducking his staff, but he grew in strength. He was relentless, chasing me down at every moment. He was powerful, but I saw an opening and decided to strike him with my sword, dealing huge amounts of damage, and the bleeding effect started to kick in. A few more hits, this would be it, and then I would have my hands on that staff. I defeated the evil caveman! There it is, the skull staff in all its glory. I headed over to pick it up. I couldn't believe I wielded all of its power, but I still didn't know what its ability was. But then a strange sound occurred, and then I had morphed into a dinosaur. I could fly. This was amazing. I was flying through the jungle, the wind through my hair. I was unstoppable. I couldn't believe this power that I had obtained. I perched myself down on a beach and decided to look at the actual ability of the staff. I could morph into any creature, so I tried it out on this raptor. This is unbelievable. This makes me the most powerful caveman of all time. After this, I headed home and celebrated with my tribe that we defeated Ooga, and I managed to get my hands on the skull staff. But I had one more idea. Seeing I had all this power, I wanted to use it to unite all of the tribes together to create peace. So I disguised myself as each tribe and convinced all the caveman tribes to join together in peace. I traveled far and wide, wielding the power of this staff to morph myself into the different caveman. I even convinced the Ooga tribe to join together. They were on board, so they followed me back home. Once I had returned, it warmed my heart to see all of the different tribes in unity. This was beautiful. I successfully ended the 100 days with the greatest caveman army in all of ancient history. Stranded in the middle of the tropical ocean, I will have just 100 days to transform my island into the most valuable treasure island in all of the 7 seas. I'll be looting treasure-filled ships, facing dangerous pirate captains, exploring mysterious islands, and even battling a gigantic kraken. Will I become the richest pirate that ever lived? Let's find out. Day 1 was extremely intense. I was being chased by a pirate, and they did extreme amounts of damage. Already losing half of my hearts, I had to get out of here. The only way I was getting off this island was with a wooden raft, so I headed towards the tree and started grabbing some wood. But I didn't have much time. He was closing in. Just 3 logs, that was enough. I then headed towards the ship. I saw some barrels, so I grabbed some stuff. I even managed to steal a gold ingot. I then sprinted away. He was going to kill me. I had to hurry. I noticed there was a crafting table, so using the materials I grabbed from the barrels, I made myself a wooden raft. It was time to confidently walk the plank. The pirate was closing in, but it was time to get out of here. I placed my raft down and started floating away. Yeah, I managed to escape.
I'll send every pirate I know after you, lad. You'll regret coming here.
The The furious pirate had no choice but to watch as I paddled away. I couldn't believe I'd escaped, but I had took a lot of damage. So there I was, stranded in the middle of the ocean, and you're probably wondering why this dude was even chasing me in the first place. Well, you see, this is Pirate Cove, home of the pirates that will be hunting me down for the next 100 days. Why, you ask? Well, you see that big red X? Underneath that is some of the most insane pirate loot in all of the 7 seas. Cannon guns, treasure, all of it, and I was so close. But then I got caught and had to sprint away, and here I am looking for somewhere to stay. As day 1 continued, I finally came across a small stranded island. So I headed over with my raft, hopped off and took a look around. Limited resources, I know, but I knew I could make this place my home. I noticed on the floor there was an unlit campfire, and I had a little bit of fish left. So I lit that bad boy up, but before I could get started cooking, somebody in the distance was coming towards me on a raft. Please don't tell anybody I'm here. I'm hiding from pirates.
Oh, it's you they're hunting for. Well, boy, if you give me 1 gold coin, I'll keep your secret.
Thank you so much.
You can have me fishing rod too, me laddie. It'll help you get resources.
I acted quickly. I punched down the tree and made myself a full set of basic tools. I then grabbed some stone, crafted a furnace, and started smelting up that gold ingot I grabbed into the gold coin. I exchanged it for both a fishing rod and secrecy. Thank you, strange man. Luckily, the tree dropped a sapling, so I planted that bad boy down and spent most of the night fishing. Day 2 consisted of pretty much the basics. Get the food, cook the food, eat the food, get more food. Rinse and repeat. And then I crafted myself a chest so I could store all of the food I was getting. And that's pretty much it. I took a look around the area, saw some pretty beautiful sights. I mean, check out this whale. Hello. I also spotted some coal, but as you can see, well, I can't breathe underwater, and I can't mine that fast. So this was proving to be quite the challenge. I had no choice but to mine the very little space I had just so I could craft basic tools. But then I was ambushed. A drowned spider. It doesn't look intimidating, but it did a ton of damage. Leaving me with just half a heart, I had no choice but to swim away. Whilst I was restoring my health, the jungle sapling grew into a beautiful tree. Lightning struck. It was all very intense. I chopped up the tree, killed the spider, and then prayed for a sapling while I chopped into the leaves. I had the worst luck ever. The more leaves I chopped, the more worried I became. Yep, no saplings. I couldn't believe it. This journey just got extremely difficult. Using the last few planks I had, I crafted some doors, headed underwater, and started creating air pockets in hopes to find a cave. The deeper I swam, the more luck I had. I got to work collecting as many ores as possible, but peace and quiet ended when a skeleton struck me with its arrow, leaving me with just 1 heart. I sprinted away as fast as possible. Using my Kenobi instincts, I took the high ground, but it was just too risky. I didn't want to lose my life. I managed to find some iron. I crafted a furnace, rapidly smelted the resources, and crafted a shield. But not even that was enough to save me. I was hit once again. Half a heart. Things were getting intense. I had to escape. Is there something in my eye? I chipped away at stone and chewed through many different ores. I even crafted an iron pickaxe. With just half a heart, I had to find my way home as fast as possible. Once I made it back, I crafted a full set of iron armor so I would be more protected for the future. I then did some fishing and then utilized my campfire to cook up the fish and finally regain some health. I then got to work on a very complicated build. This'll do for now. I crammed as much as I could in this room, and then I crafted myself a boat, because tomorrow on day 5, I want to head out and do some exploring, because I can store stuff in my boat. Day 5 rolled around and it was time to go exploring. I jumped in my boat and headed as far away from my island as possible. Breathed in that sea air and finally came across a small island. I didn't think anybody was on it till I approached it, and I did try and negotiate with these guys, but the castaways were just too interested in beating me over the head with paddles. I was on 1.5 heart. I dived into the water and tried to create some space between us, but then I noticed he was trying to steal my boat, so I had to take him out and then finish off the others. Loot-wise, I was pretty lucky as I found a diamond. A small step in becoming the richest in all of the 7 seas. I noticed there was another little island, so I stored my stuff on the boat and then stole pretty much everything I could see on this island, including the seeds, because that would mean I could get some food. I then headed over to another island not too far away and decided to investigate. More castaways, and these guys were pretty aggressive, but using my axe I managed to strike them down. These guys were sort of having trouble falling through the hole, so it made it pretty easy taking them out. Once I climbed into the watchtower, I opened up the chest. Inside was loads of gold and illager nuggets, which I can use to craft pirate pistols. I then grabbed a bunch more wood, hopped in my boat, and traversed the beautiful seas until I finally made it home. An intense few days indeed, but I had a long way to go and a lot planned, including getting a ton of treasure and also crafting a giant ship, because once I make it to Pirate Cove, I'll need plenty of space to store all of that treasure I collect from the hidden vault. However, I've been dodging drowned and sharks, all whilst collecting materials, because yep, you guessed it, time to get building. A solid few days, making the most of limited resources. I had the build finished, and then I got to work planting the very little seeds I had, so I had an unlimited food source. I then made some more gold coins, and then, whoa, what is that? Oh no! The pirates have found me! I had to act fast. I crafted myself an iron sword and headed out. But the sleepless nights had attracted phantoms. I had to deal with these guys first. These stealthy night walkers were working in unison to dive bomb me, but with combination of my sword and shield, I managed to deflect their hits, taking them out one by one. The final squad swooped in, but they were no match for me and my sword. The warship had clearly anchored, so I took advantage and the next day headed in on my boat. I was preparing for the worst. I steadily scaled the side of this wooden beast. When I reached the top, a cannoneer holding a pistol began firing at me, and with no hesitation, he knocked me off. But then he dived in after me. My shield could only withstand so much, and he started to do serious damage. I thought this was the moment I would lose my life, until I was saved by a shark. A shark began attacking the pirate, and he became occupied. This was my moment. With just one heart left, I began to swim away. A successful second attempt. I made it on the boat, but I was met with skeleton pirates. The ultimate sword fight began to play out. With the deck now cleared, it was time to head deeper into this ship. I didn't know what to expect, but it definitely wasn't this. An entire army of pirates was waiting for me. They began to level my shield with bullets. I sprinted away and tried to hide in the corner. There was just too many of them. The pirates' sporadic gunfire ended up damaging each other, leaving me with just one pirate to face. He tried to take me out with his pistol, but using my sword and shield, I defeated him. Like, seriously, I cannot believe I survived that. I make a good pirate. I seem to have found myself in some sort of treasure room, and as I opened the chests, it revealed gold coins. I also found resources like sand, but I could still hear enemies, so it was time to head back up top and clear the rest of the ship. I battled fiercely to defeat the remaining pirates, but nothing could stop me from being jumped by a creeper. Man, that was a close one. I got to work raiding the ship, even grabbed myself some wool, then headed down to have a proper good look at the treasure room. I grabbed some pretty cool stuff like this bone cutler's sword, but the best part was the tree saplings. You have no idea how badly I need saplings, so finding this was a godsend. I continued to investigate and found a map inside a chest. More treasure, it seems, or maybe even a clue on how to get back to Pirate Cove. I continued to look around the ship when I came across this room filled with TNT and a little parrot. It seems the pirates had captured him here, so I tamed him with a little bit of seed, but then things went bad quickly. Lightning had struck the boat. It was on fire, and with all this TNT, I'd have to get out of here fast. I tried to mine it all, but I just didn't have time. It was time to evacuate. I leapt from the ship and waited for my new little friend. I got out of there as fast as possible and watched as the entire ship set ablaze. The TNT had caught fire, and a giant explosion erupted. I quickly crafted a bed, placed it inside my house, and got a good night's rest. And the parrot too. Day 21 was here, so I was working on my island. I made a little perch for my parrot, which, by the way, you can give him a name if you like. I then built a small area where I could plant my saplings and watch trees grow, and then made a small expansion on the island with some wooden walkways. And I could also leave my boat here too. I then got a good night's rest because on day 23, I geared up and went strip mining. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you know how much I love my strip mining. So I got to work collecting as many ores as I possibly could until I finally found diamonds. Oh, look at it. Beautiful, Amazing. That little twinkly sound, it just never gets old. I strip mined for days collecting resources. I even came across these weird looking rooms filled with mobs and crystals. There was so much loot too. After looting all the chests, I really liked the stone bricks on the walls, so I decided to mine pretty much the entire room. When I returned home, I crafted a full set of diamond armor ready to head out to that treasure island. I was hoping to get some sort of map or clue on how I can find my way back to Pirate Cove. I voyaged across the tropical ocean day and night, looting everything I could find, fighting mobs, but then I was ambushed by an entire gang of drowned. One of them was launching their trident at me, but I managed to take them all down, and I picked up a trident in the process. Pretty lucky if you ask me. Day 45, I almost died because a shark managed to get inside my boat. Like, what are the chances of that? Like, please explain that to me. I finally made it, the first island. It was colossal in size, with broken shipwrecks covered all over the mountains. I was pretty intimidated. I approached the shore, and I quickly noticed there were pirates everywhere. They were well armed and well prepared. They knew I was coming. I almost had my life taken once my shield was destroyed, but I managed to create some distance, and they ended up falling in the gap. Ha! Things did get pretty intense though when this one captain got me down to 1.5 hearts. It was a pretty close one. I finally came across some sugarcane, so I kept it for later. And then it was getting too dark and too dangerous, so I headed inside the side of the mountain and stayed for the night. Tomorrow I'd go treasure hunting. Day 47, our first sign of treasure. But as I approached, I was ambushed by this mantis thing that kept setting me alight. I had to battle it. I felt bad killing the little critter, but gotta do what I gotta do. I broke through the X and fell into the hole. There was definitely treasure here. When I opened the chest, I saw a pirate hat, health potions, and a bunch of gold ingots. It wasn't the best treasure I'd ever seen, but it was definitely a great start on this journey. At least I look like a pirate now, because the hat's pretty cool. The chest disintegrated to obsidian. I continued to traverse the island, dodging giant snakes, which I also hate, by the way. I noticed a bunch of pirates at the top of the mountain, so I began to scale the shipwrecked structure in hopes to find any clues about Pirate Cove. When I made it to the top, they were waiting for me, carrying giant cannons which obliterated anything it touched. I cleared the area as fast as possible, knocking enemies off the side and watching as they fall. I finally found a chest. This must have been what they were protecting. I opened the chest to find another map. When I looked, it was another island containing treasure. One step closer to our final goal. Then I was ambushed. A giant cannon had hit me, leaving me with half a heart, but I didn't want to waste a health potion, so I used my shield. I was deflecting his hits successfully until he made a grave mistake. See you later, buddy. I noticed in the distance another pirate ship. This must have been the captain that sent these pirates after me, so I headed down to face him. If you're enjoying the content so far, hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. On that ship was one of the captains that was sending pirates after me. I managed to get up top and prepare for a stealthy attack, but then...
I can hear you, lad. I know you're here.
My cover was blown, so I jumped down with a water bucket and decided to face the captain. His cannons did extreme amounts of damage, but I headed in with my sword and started striking. The captain was powerful, and his cannon packed a punch, almost killing me in one single blow. I had to create some distance. Things turned south pretty quickly though when he hit me with his cannon and left me with just half a heart. I had to choose my next moves intelligently. I decided to race to the bottom of the boat. I threw down a health potion and then used the maze-like interior to dodge the cannon shots, but it wasn't enough. He managed to hit me and get me down to just half a heart once again. I had to flee. My heart was absolutely pounding, and he was chasing after me. One hit and it was all over. I managed to sneak outside, eat some food, and head back in. I was deflecting the hits. It was doing a lot of damage, but then he broke my shield. I had to think fast. I ran to the lower deck of the boat. It seemed to be some sort of armory. I dug my way out the bottom of the boat and swam out to sea. But it didn't stop him. This captain was relentless. He fired his cannon at me, creating space. I used it to my advantage. I made my way back into the ship and found a pirate gun and some ammo. The boat was clearly carrying a weapon shipment, so I used it to my advantage, took all of the ammo I could, headed out and started firing my pirate pistol at the captain. It did severe amounts of damage. We had a shootout between each other, when finally, I defeated the captain. He dropped a ton of loot. I couldn't believe I defeated him. He left a colossal amount of XP and loot. I headed back to the boat and grabbed all of the chests I could, ready for a project back at home. An extremely intense few days, but it was time to head back. Hey there, little buddy. I miss you too, little guy. I planted some sugar canes, and then I had the idea to build a storage room for all my treasure. Let's get to work. I dedicated some time to building a small wall around my island. It gave the island a sort of textured feel and looked really nice. I continued to make visual improvements, including a big red X. Day 63, I was visited by the wandering trader, but I had to kill his llamas for the leads. Sorry, bro. And then went to the storage facility that I had built and stored all of my treasure inside. I was feeling pretty rich at this point, but I was nowhere near being the richest in all of the 7 seas. I'll have to get back to Pirate Cove for that. Day 64, and I wanted to visit the new island, so I crafted myself a brand new boat. It was definitely an upgrade. It had a ton of storage and even had sails this time. Day 65 couldn't come quick enough. I grabbed my map, jumped in my boat, and set sail. It was time to find that treasure. I sailed day and night in search for this treasure island. There was no doubt that there were going to be pirates and captains waiting for me. I approached the shore. This island was gigantic. It was incredible. I approached the shore, but it was eerily quiet. I began to mine my way through the marking, and as I fell in, it was filled with snakes. I was absolutely terrified. Oh, I hate snakes. I hate them so much. I can't believe they managed to get in here. After defeating the snakes, I opened the chest to see a bunch of treasure, health potions, and a sword that gave me special abilities by channeling the power of the 7 seas. Decided to wait in my boat overnight, and when I woke up, it seems a bunch of pirates were transporting TNT. I decided to use my pirate pistol like a sniper, picking long-range shots, but then they were closing in. I used the ability of the sword to create distance. It's easier to get away from threats, but they can still catch you off guard. I decided to investigate where the skeleton pirates were coming from, but the door wouldn't open, so I used my sword to hop on top and see if I could get over. I noticed 2 bomber pirates, but the strangest thing happened. They just started throwing bombs at each other. Like, bro, what are you doing? You're meant to be fighting me. I channeled the power of the sea to hop to the other building, and then used my pirate pistol to take him out. I was certainly earning my reputation as a deadly pirate. Inside the building seemed to be a full set of pirate armor. It was incredible. I put it on and I looked amazing.
Ha ha ha! I knew you would fall for it. The entire 7 seas has been looking for you, boy. You're coming with me.
What the...
You're getting locked away in the prison. Your stuff's in the chest and you ain't getting it back.
I couldn't believe it. I had been captured. The captain stunned me and forced me into a cell. I had no idea how I was going to get out of here alive. They made me stay an entire night until a giant kraken had attacked the boat. The captain came running.
A kraken just ate my entire crew. I'm gonna need you, lad. I can't face it alone.
But why should I help you?
I'll let you go free.
I mean, I'd rather stay here than be eaten by a kraken, though.
Please, I'll give you the map to Pirate Cove. I know that's what you've been looking for.
Deal. An unlikely team, but a team nonetheless. I grabbed my stuff from the chest and prepared to fight.
Army matey.
The kraken was too far to reach, so we dropped a boat, jumped off the ship, and leapt in. We closed in on the tentacled beast and began shooting.
Arr!
We unloaded bullet after bullet into the kraken. It was furious. It began attacking us. We paddled the boat as fast as we could to get away.
One hit with that sword. It'll take the kraken out.
The captain was right. With my 7 seas cutlass, I would be able to get close enough and channel the power to defeat this beast. We battled for days on end. Its colossal tentacles obliterated anything in its path. But this kraken knew its fate. It began to fluster in panic, and with a strike of my sword, I defeated the beast with the power of the 7 seas. I swam to the surface, out of breath. I was exhausted. I picked up the loot. I guess it's time to head back to the captain.
Thank you so much. Because of you, my entire ship is saved. You're the best pirate that I've ever seen in all of the 7 seas. Now, as promised, here's the map to Pirate Cove. But be careful. It's extremely dangerous, and they're also expecting you. Oh, and don't let anyone know that I gave you that map. Good luck, me laddie. Now get out of here quick before I change my mind.
The captain had given me exactly what I needed, the map to Pirate Cove. I headed home and headed straight for my storage facility. I wanted to store all of the pirate treasure I'd collected so far. I checked on my sugar canes, grabbed some wood, and crafted an enchantment table ready to build. I wanted a really simple, open plan build where I could really appreciate the ocean when I looked out. I was pretty impressed with the final result. I was really proud of everything I'd accomplished so far. My island looked pretty great. I put down my enchantment table but realized I didn't have any blue lapis, so I quickly went and grabbed some of that, headed back and enchanted all of my items. I was prepared to head to Pirate Cove. I was so excited. This time I was fully prepared for a pirate battle. It took me a while to find the island, and I was coming across all sorts of different loot on the way, when finally I made it. Nobody's gonna be chasing me away this time. I headed in and started firing. There was a lot of pirates waiting for me, but I was more than prepared. Using my 7 Seas cutlass and my pirate pistol, I defeated everybody defending the treasure. Despite a small army, I expected a lot more pirates. It seemed that everybody had left, except one, Captain Agmer. It was time to battle. It seemed he had stayed to defend Pirate Cove. The rest had fled, knowing I was the deadliest. I tactically hopped, skipped, and jumped over the captain, blocking his hits with my shield and returning with a slice of my blade. With every hit, he dropped treasure. It was incredible. The captain persevered. He was ruthless. He was relentless. He wouldn't stop at nothing. But he was no match for the channeled power of the 7 Seas. The captain fought well, but with one final strike, he was defeated. He dropped a ton of treasure. I picked all of it up. He even dropped a totem of undying. But now it was time to head into the vault of treasure. I was so excited. It's all led to this moment. I mined through... Oh my goodness, it was a drop! Wow, the totem saved me. This place was incredible, but there was an alligator waiting for me. I dodged his snapping jaws and held up my shield. The poor crocodile stunned himself. This place was absolutely incredible. It was filled with treasure from top to bottom. When I opened the chest, it was absolutely crammed with treasure. There was even chests filled with cannons and cannonballs. I grabbed all of the ores and as much treasure as I possibly could, and then I ate the golden banana, which gave me a bunch of health. I grabbed a bunch of these crates. A bunch? I guess you could pardon the pun. I managed to mine my way out and finally reached the surface. I waited till the next morning and did a little bit of exploration of the cove, but there was nobody here. It was empty. I couldn't believe it. All that was left was a few angry endermen, which was pretty scary, I'm not gonna lie. But I used my 7 Seas sword and my cannon to completely obliterate them. I was absolutely ecstatic. We had conquered Pirate Cove. I headed home. I stored all of my treasure and then began to change my island. I wanted to show off how rich I was by replacing a lot of my wood with gold blocks. Not that I'm a show-off or anything. To be fair, I don't even care. I'll throw all my treasure in the sea. This was a complete waste of time. You know, I don't even... Okay, I take that back. I can't believe I just did that. We did it. We completed the 100 days. Have a great day.
This volcano could erupt at any moment, and for the next 100 days I will be surviving on this dangerous island. Will I be able to create a base to stay protected from the eruption? What abilities will the volcanic items grant me? And can I become strong enough to defeat the evil fire dragon? Speaking of fire dragons, on my first day here I found a dragon egg, but if I was to get close I would have to get past these magma beasts. They were extremely intimidating, so I snuck around and started grabbing some sand so I could build up. But then they found me! These things do extreme amounts of damage, and with just 1.5 hearts left, I would have no choice but to sprint away as fast as possible and start scaling the tree. I grabbed some wood, made a crafting table, placed it down, and made a full set of basic wooden tools. I continued scaling this tree. There it was, the fire dragon egg. I broke the wood beneath it and picked it up. Wow, I wonder what this thing looks like when it's fully grown up. But it was way too dangerous to hatch it here. I was surrounded by these creatures that were mutated by the volcano itself. I took the dragon egg and started my descent, and with just 2.5 hearts left, I made a run for it. But this volcanic creeper was extremely fast, so I had no choice but to build up and create space between us. I was safe for now, but then I heard a strange noise coming from the distance. It was the volcano. The whole island was shaking, but then after a while it simmered down. I now knew what I had to do. I'm located south of the island, but I want to build my base on the side of the volcano to monitor whether it will erupt. Day 1 was coming to a close, and whilst the sun was setting, I decided to move, but then I made a grave mistake. I almost lost my life, and with just half a heart, I was surrounded by enemies. I had to find somewhere safe. I stumbled across this cave, grabbed some coal, made some torches, and headed in hesitantly. But then I realized I couldn't make any tools because I didn't have wood or a crafting table, because I left it earlier, okay? What are you, the crafting table police? I decided with just half a heart to go out and risk it. I didn't get much wood, but it was enough to get back into the cave, make a crafting table, and upgrade my wooden tools to stone ones so I could get to work mining that iron. I was constantly on edge with such little health, so I decided to block myself in just in case I get creeped on by a creeper. I then made a furnace, placed it down, and started smelting up all of the iron I had collected, which was quite a considerable amount. I then whipped out my pickaxe and continued mining until I came across sunlight. Day 2. I thought it might be a good idea to grab some food, but then I spotted this dude and there was no way I was risking it with just half a heart, so I headed back into the cave and blocked myself in. Once I made it back, I wanted to make a shield, but realized I don't have enough wood, so once again I'd have to go out, risk it, and get some wood. Speaking of risking it, look how close I just got to that cactus. Bro, I am living my life on the edge right now. I finally came across some berries though, which was a great food source. Now, I didn't have a lot, but it was enough to keep me alive. I headed back to my little cave, finally made the shield, and upgraded my stone tools to iron ones. And then I took a moment to snack on the berries. I then made a full set of iron armor, which was amazing. Bro, how am I still alive? Like, what the hell? I continued to gather resources on day 2 because I couldn't do much else with just half a heart. But then I decided to go and get some food, and I had to make it quick because enemies were watching my every move. I headed straight for the ocean. I thought my best bet would be tropical fish because they can't fight back. I got so excited at the prospect I was finally going to eat that I actually forgot how to breathe and almost lost my life. Seriously, how have I survived this long? Whilst collecting food, the volcano started shaking once again. A quick reminder that I need to stay on track. So I rushed home as quick as possible, picking up resources and also avoiding ambushes like this snapping turtle. I headed back into the cave and ran back home. Finally, I stuck my food in the furnace and waited for it to cook. Whilst it cooks, please hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. It helps me out a bunch. I finally regained health with food and then headed out to go and see that snapping turtle. Yes, I know you're probably wondering why. There is a reason. Number 1, because he just looks cool. Look at him. Put me down, please. And number 2, they grow moss on their backs, which I'm pretty sure with shears, I'll be able to harvest to do something with armor. I don't know. I just wanted the turtle, okay? Give me a break. I crafted a chest, placed all of the items I had collected so far, made some axes, and headed out on day 3 to start collecting resources. I collected as much wood and sand as possible, just in case I can't get my hands on any when I get to the volcano. Day 4 was here and I spent most of it underwater. I wanted to collect as much food as possible, but I quickly learned that the ocean was no longer safe because I was attacked by hammerhead sharks and even poisonous pufferfish. Day 5 rolled around and I decided it was time to head out and find the volcano. I was sneaking past mobs left, right, and center when suddenly I came across this weird lizard-looking thing, but it did a ton of damage with its poisonous attacks. Its poisonous bites were ripping through my heart, leaving me no choice but to build up and create some space. But I was still in range. He was still doing damage. I had no choice but to stand and watch my hearts deplete. He left me with just half a heart. I ate some food and then escaped by bridging across and jumping over the treetops. It was time to head for the mountains, so I dived off into this water. Well, we can pretend I did. I then continued battling mobs, zombies, and creepers until I finally made it to the mountains. I grabbed some ores on the way, but then the island started shaking once again. I had to hurry, so I started scaling the mountain. I finally made it to the top. There it was. There was the volcano. This volcanic monster was huge. If it were to erupt, it would be absolutely devastating. But then I heard a strange noise. It was coming from behind me. I decided to choose some food and head down. It seemed to be some sort of nest. A creature came crawling out towards me. I didn't know whether it was friendly or not, but then it started climbing up and stabbed me with its stinger. I was poisoned. The poison was doing extreme amounts of damage and I was left with just half a heart. The creature chased me, stopped, and stared me in the eye. This creature was going to eat me alive, so I dived off and struck him with my sword. But these things don't take full damage. It just floated down, crawled around, and started circling me. Enough was enough. I bridged across and finished this creature. I realized from its skin I could craft tough armor and weaponry, so I decided I would head into the nest the next day and get my hands on more of that stuff. But this place was treacherous. This sticky maze-like tunnel ran deep. I knew I was close to the queen because I could see an egg. I headed down deeper and deeper, and there she was. She started swinging her poisonous tail at me. It was time to battle this beast. She fired me high into the air, doing extreme amounts of damage, leaving me with just half a heart, and then persistently stabbed me with her tail, breaking down my shield. Her persistent hits wouldn't stop. I had to look for an opening. I started to sprint away as fast as possible and headed into this small enclosed area of the nest. I blocked myself in with wood, regained my strength, placed a crafting table, made a bowl, and scavenged what I could find to make some more food. I then headed back in to fight the queen. She was swinging her pendulum-like stinger at me, but then stopped and started summoning a small army of creatures. They started striking against my shield, but I started swinging back. But then they got the better of me, and they managed to poison me.
Oh no, I'm poisoned. I've got to get out of here.
I was losing hearts. They were depleting fast. I thought this would be the moment I would lose my life. These creatures had blocked me into the corner. I didn't know what to do. I struck them with my sword and managed to create some space between us. I then finished off the last few. I can't believe I had just half a heart. I regained some strength, headed back out to finish off the last few monsters, and then headed in to finally defeat this queen creature. Her pendulum-like poisonous stinger was swinging at me, but I finally finished her off. She dropped a ton of the material I could use to make the armor. I also found a sticky capsule full of food and also one of the queen's eggs, which, here, you can have that, because I don't want to see any more of these things. Suddenly, the entire hive started shaking. I thought it was going to collapse, so I started sprinting away and made it out. I then used my parkour skills to navigate the mountain, and then finally made it to the base of the volcano. Day 7 was here, and whilst I was eating, I decided to make a very small hut, because I wanted to build a bigger area so I could hatch the dragon egg, which we will do very soon, I promise. I made a chest and stored all of the things ready for the dragon egg build, but then I saw my entire house caught on fire. I don't know what I expected, really. I quickly put out the fire, but then I noticed the chest was engulfed in flames. I couldn't believe it. I lost all of my resources. Just before I headed out to grab more resources, I noticed a couple of villagers climbing the volcano. I wonder what they were going there for. Are they keeping something from me? I'll have to go there later. It wasn't all bad news though, because I still kept what the creatures dropped earlier, so I crafted a full set of this weird armor, which looked pretty cool.
I can't see a thing.
Whilst the volcano was bubbling away, I was out collecting resources, considering I lost everything in the fire earlier. I dedicated days 8 to 15 to complete resource collection: cobblestone, darkwood, spruce wood, iron, coal, anything I could get my hands on, all whilst the volcano was bubbling away behind me. You know, I was pretty worried. I thought it was going to erupt at any moment. On the night of day 16, I decided to do a little bit of exploring, considering I'd walked all this way. I stumbled across this small campsite, and there was this random guy chatting to himself outside. I ignored him and headed in anyway. Inside, I discovered a bed and a chest full of food, and considering it's hardcore survival, I decided to take it all because every man for himself, right? I then tried to speak to this guy, but he just kept chatting to himself.
I know it's up there. It's breathing fire. It's breathing fire. I know it's up there.
This guy was pretty obsessed with the volcano, and when I stood in his way, he wasn't too happy about it.
What are you doing? Get out the way! Get out the way! I'm trying to climb here. I heard a dragon. A real dragon. If I make it to the top, that's my ticket out of here.
This guy clearly was insane. I'm the only one with a dragon egg on this island, so I headed home. I made it home on day 18 and turned my little hut into a workstation, ready to get building. I stepped outside and started looking at the area in which I would build my base. Once I had it all planned in my head, I got to work. Out of nowhere, I was ambushed by this giant creature that looked similar to the queen I had killed earlier, but it did a ton more damage and was striking me with its stinger. I had no choice but to flee back into my house. I was down to just half a heart. I am sick and tired of being on such low health on this 100 days. I fled to my little workstation and waited for it to go away. It wouldn't leave, so I decided to finish it off with my sword. Finally, right, back to work. I finally finished the first part of my volcanic base. I decided to leave this part as a sort of workstation. I then decided it was time to finally hatch the dragon egg. I placed it down and watched as particles fizzed around it. The egg snapped, crackled, and popped, but I really didn't think it was going to hatch. I waited around for a really long time when suddenly, there it was! A cute little baby fire dragon! This was hands down the best thing that has ever happened to me in Minecraft ever. The dragon was pretty scared of me at first, but then it crawled into my room and it started asking for food.
Hey mister, I'm hungry. Can you get me some food?
I immediately headed out to try and get some food for my new baby dragon. I made sure they were all tucked up safe in my house that I had built, and then headed out on day 29 to collect some food. I was only coming across small things like mushrooms here and there, all whilst battling mobs that were trying to kill me. I then took a few moments to appreciate the view, because this island is mesmerizing. During my search for food, I was coming across small structures, including this mine shaft, in which I was ambushed by a giant crimson mosquito, which started sucking my blood. It was doing a little bit of damage by spitting the blood back at me. It creeped me out, so I took this thing out as soon as possible. I then was hoping for food inside the chest, but when I opened it up, I didn't find a lot, just some iron and a dagger. And then this Enderman thanked me for killing the mosquito, because it was biting him in his sleep. Day 31, and this volcano island wasn't getting any easier. The mobs were absolutely insane. This weird, terrifying koala bear thing was absolutely tearing through my heart. I was using my shield and new dagger in combination to take it out. I then headed over to this small structure, had a look inside the chest, and found these cool daggers. I then continued my search for food and got pretty lucky finding wheat and also this cool looking sword. And then day 32 is here and I found a pond filled with fish. So I got to work collecting as much meat as possible so I could take it back for my baby dragon. At first, they didn't like the mushroom, but when I started feeding them the fish, they were loving it. After eating a ton of food, my baby dragon laid down to relax, but then something insane happened. They evolved a whole new size, and this wasn't even their final form.
I can't spread my wings. Can you make this place bigger?
Of course! Let's get to work! As you can see, I spent a ton of time mining as much as possible. I dug the base a little bit deeper, terraformed the entire top, and then made a sort of landing pad area so I could take the dragon out and then bring them back and land them safely in my base. I also left a glass top so I could see that beautiful volcano in all her glory. Day 42 was really important. My dragon was growing even larger in size, which I didn't think was possible, and I also decided to go strip mining, which, if you're a fan of the channel, you know is like my favorite thing ever. But then I stumbled across this cave, and the fun ended pretty quickly as I was ambushed by absolutely tons of mobs. I was surrounded by mobs left, right, and center, and all I had was these two little daggers to keep me alive, but they were pretty cool to use. How I survived is pretty much a miracle. I had like a moment of peace before I was attacked by mobs again, and then I stumbled across diamonds. I couldn't believe it, so I sprinted away, blocked myself in, and finally mined them up. Oh, diamonds, they're literally the best thing ever. Whilst I was mining, the volcano started shaking once again, so I decided to speed things up. I dedicated the next few days to complete ore collection, all whilst being stalked up on by evil mobs. And then on day 53, I finally made it to the surface, took a look around, and then headed into this nearby structure in hopes to find some cool loot. But when I headed down, I was met with a really crazy surprise. There was a guy captured here called Buck. Who are you?
The name's Buck, and well, the reason I'm all chained up in here is because I tried to steal some lava crystals from the Nether Keeper. I know. Wait, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Oh dear.
He explained that with lava crystals, he could craft lava armor and go swimming in the volcano because there is a hidden fortress in there. But the Nether Keeper is what protects the crystals. So I said I will go and get the crystals myself. I promised Buck I would return and free him from these chains, but in the meantime I needed to hurry. I checked the chest for loot and did find a name tag and a saddle, which would be perfect for my dragon back at home. So I headed back as soon as possible, sprinting past volcanic mobs trying to take me down. Day 56, I made it back to the volcano base, and I was so excited to give my dragon their new name tag. I headed in, did a few quality of life improvements, placed down the anvil, and named my dragon Sparky. Once I applied the name tag, I also gave them a saddle, which I thought looked pretty snazzy. Are you happy?
Let's go exploring. I want to fly.
Sparky was just as excited as I was, so I got a good night's rest and made a full set of diamond armor ready to face the Nether Keeper and get my hands on those lava crystals. This was the moment. Day 57, I take flight on a dragon. This was something I've wanted to do ever since day 1 when I picked up that fire dragon egg. As we flew high into the sky, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The views were absolutely breathtaking, and as Sparky flew me high into the the sky, I was thinking about the magical terrace that I would discover at the top of that volcano. But I was in no condition. I need to get my hands on that lava armor. So it was time for me and Sparky to head out. Over the next few days, I was traversing the island on the hunt for the Netherkeeper. I was coming across all sorts of structures, but no sign of this evil boss that Buck spoke of until this moment. Their boss bar appeared, so I quickly landed Sparky and cleared the area of any hostile mobs. Day 58, time to fight.
I'll protect these crystals with my life. Leave or die.
I approached the Netherkeeper, ready to battle head-on, but I quickly underestimated his power, and with one swing, he did a ton of damage, knocking me down to just 2.5 hearts. So I whipped out my bow and started firing shots. My bow was doing small but consistent damage. I then decided to sprint around and see if I could flank this beast. I stuck up from behind and started striking him with my sword. But then out of nowhere, I was flanked by these creatures. They seemed to be mutated by the lava and could withstand the heat. They were flinging creatures at me. It did a ton of damage. I had no choice but to run away. I took some time to regain some strength, all whilst dodging these catapulted projectiles. I was picking my bow shots, and I finally destroyed the creature. Man, these things are really annoying. I cleared the area of the creatures and then headed in to continue my battle with the Netherkeeper. I was picking my bow shots, but then he did a ton of damage. I decided it was time to grab Sparky and see if I could fight this beast from the air. I lined up my shots and started firing arrows into the beast. I finally defeated the Netherkeeper, all whilst riding on Sparky's back. The ultimate team, but he left behind minions that were determined to taking me down.
I've got him, boys. Protect the crystals.
I finished off the last of the Netherkeeper's minions, and then I could finally get my hands on those lava crystals. Well, they weren't crystals, they were shards, but I can craft them into crystals when I get home. I dedicated the day to just solely collecting these lava shards, and also other ores that I came across in the caves. After collecting a ton of the lava shards and some obsidian, I jumped on Sparky, and we headed home. With an inventory filled with lava crystals, I headed back. It took me 2 days to make it back home, but once I made it, I filled Sparky's belly up with fish to regain their health, because they took some damage. It was time to make the armor, but first I would need to charge these crystals in a pool of lava to infuse them. I don't know why, I guess that's just what makes them fireproof? I then crafted the full set of lava armor and got rid of my diamond armor, because that's for peasants. This full set of lava armor looked incredible and was glowing against my skin. I also crafted a battle axe, which I'm sure would ignite my enemies. I took a look at the volcano. I was wondering what incredible things would be at the top. But before we head up, I wanted to spend some time with Sparky. I thought after everything we've been through the last few days, it would be good to take some downtime. On day 64, I took Sparky to their favorite spot, set up a campfire, and we chatted all night. When the sun rose the next day, me and Sparky headed out, flying in and out the canyons of the volcano. We were coming across loads of structures and decided to take our time looting everything we could find. We explored every inch of the volcanic island. We were finding so many little secret hideouts. It was incredible. We were finding loot left, right, and center. Sparky's come a long way since that tiny little baby dragon just a few days ago. Day 75 was here and it was time to head to the top of that volcano. As I flew up, I was met with an incredible view. The pools of lava were radiating tons of heat. I was pretty terrified. The mobs here had been mutated by the volcanic essence, and they were terrifying. These mutants were trying to set me alight, but with my lava armor, I was fully fire resistant, so I felt pretty confident heading to that sea of lava. It was really quiet, almost too quiet, and then I was ambushed by a bone serpent. These volcanic monsters would leap high into the air and strike me upon their descent. I used my shield and battle axe to strike down this bone serpent. It was clear he was trying to protect something. Once I took him down, it was time to head into the sea of lava and find this fortress. As I headed deeper, I came across a structure. This had to be it. I chewed through the walls and swam through the pool of lava and made it into this fortress. Volcanic spores dribbled from the walls, and then I was captured. I seemed to be stuck inside this gooey, sticky-like material. Once I broke out, there was no one to be seen. It must have been the spores leaking from the walls. Once I dropped down, I was captured once again. Something was trying to stop me from finding the heart of this fortress, but I carried on. I was navigating these rooms when suddenly an army of the Netherkeeper's minions came out of nowhere and started attacking me. They were incredibly fast and did a ton of damage. I managed to strike them back with my lava sword and continue navigating these maze-like corridors. Day 77, I stumbled across a chest filled with loot, and then I almost lost my life because this creature knocked me down to just half a heart. I knew I was close to the heart of this fortress. I could feel it. But then the entire fortress started shaking. This was it. This was the moment the volcano was about to erupt. I had to get out of here as soon as possible. The fortress started rising from the sea of lava. I bridged across and tried to escape as fast as possible. I made it back to Sparky and we flew away as quickly as we could as the volcano was about to erupt. The volcano's eruption had devastated the island, and the sky began to be filled with the volcanic ash. As it filled the sky, everything darkened. It was almost as if the Nether and the Overworld had merged into one. I was surrounded by volcanic mobs. It was time to fight. I was completely surrounded, and to make it worse, the fire dragon appeared. It was an intense battle between man and dragon. His fire breathing did incredible amounts of damage. I had no choice but to return with my bow shots. The dragon's scales seemed impenetrable, but after hours of battling, the dragon seemed weak. I wonder if Sparky was okay. This was the moment. I charged at the dragon and struck him down with my battle axe, finally defeating him. I was still surrounded by tons of mobs though, so I fled as fast as possible. This must have been the dragon that was behind the volcanic eruption. The dragon may be down, but I had to grab Sparky and get out of here as fast as possible. I headed into the volcanic skies. It was an intense flight, but the views were quite mesmerizing. I quickly realized that nowhere was safe on this volcanic island now that it erupted, so I found refuge inside this tree. I lit it up and stayed with just one heart and waited till the morning. Day 86, the storm had passed and things seemed a lot calmer, so I dedicated the last few days to mining and building a quick little base. It was time to build a new life on this once beautiful island. It has been an incredible 100 days, but me and Sparky made it. Thanks for watching. My name's the Coffee Fuel Genius. Peace. Well, I guess I'll be stuck here for the rest of my days. Whoa, don't cry. I'm here now. I'm really sorry I'm late. I was like too busy surviving a volcanic eruption and fighting fire-breathing dragons. You have no idea what I've been through. How about you come back with me and Sparky and I'll explain. Stranded in the tropical ocean in the blazing sun, I'll need to take on some of the most dangerous creatures I have ever faced. I'll need to craft epic tools and mystical armor so I can survive the dangers of the tropical seas in hardcore Minecraft. My journey begins on this raft. With no food or shelter, my first priority was to find a good spot and start getting to work. Otherwise, I might get eaten by giant crabs. Oh yeah, they're out there, and they are ready to feed. So I found a good spot, hopped off my raft, and headed underwater to explore. It was beautiful. The tropical ocean was filled with life. This is the perfect spot to get building. I didn't want to waste too much time though, so I grabbed myself a sea pickle, considering this is the only light source underwater, then headed up, grabbed some air because I wanted to start collecting resources to get building. But as I was grabbing sand, I quickly realized this is going to be very, very annoying. Like, I'm going to drown constantly. But I persevered, headed down, and started grabbing as much sand as I possibly could, all whilst dolphins were protecting me from the drowned. Like, that's so cool. I finally had a platform to stand on, however, it did cost me a few hearts. I felt kind of bad, but I replenished my health with raw cod, and then I noticed something underwater. It was a little squid, so I headed down to speak to him. Hey, little dude. The little tropical creature informed me of a shipwreck nearby, but it was surrounded by danger. So I headed up, replenished my health, and decided I'd go out hunting for that shipwreck. I headed out pretty tentatively, but as I got closer, the coast seemed clear. Holy shark! The beast that emerged from the shipwreck started chasing me. I had nowhere left to go. I started swimming away, but it was much faster than I am and did a ton of damage. And then I started drowning. I headed up to the surface and had no choice but to fight this monster with my bare hands. Nothing seemed to be killing this beast. I created a little bit of distance and continued smacking the shark when finally I killed the creature. Whew, that was a close one. I then headed back to the shipwreck and started looting. Inside the chest was a bunch of goodies, potatoes, iron, and even some crab meat. So I headed up top and replenished my health. I then tried to get as much wood from the shipwreck as I could, but I pretty much spent the entire time drowning. But eventually I had enough wood to
head back and make myself a crafting table. And inside, I noticed an oceanic axe, which is used to kill the kraken. Oh, yeah, cool. There's krakens now. Yeah, just what I need. I couldn't craft the item just yet, so instead I used what I had to make some basic tools and head back to the shipwreck to get as much wood as possible. Things were finally going a little smoother. I crafted the rest of my basic tools and then headed underwater to try and find some dirt so then I could plant the potatoes. I also grabbed myself a little cobblestone and then headed back up to start working on my base in the middle of the tropical ocean. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I had food growing, furnaces, crafting tables, and then I took a look at this map I found in the pirate ship earlier, and I was feeling pretty alone until this moment. A giant turtle started swimming towards me under the water. He then started shooting items from his shell. What was happening? What is going on? This turtle just keeps shooting items from the chest on his shell. It's crazy. He then started to swim away. He swam into the distance and was gone. This is so random. I decided to just go ahead and pick up all the items he dropped. Is that a diamond? I then spotted some sort of special looking fishing rod, so I headed over and picked it up. It's been a crazy journey so far, and I quickly found out this fishing rod was very OP, so I spent the next few days just constantly fishing for food and enjoying the blazing sun. Food was #1 priority, considering I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere, so I dedicated a bunch of time to that. Things were going pretty smoothly until this happened. This giant whale-like creature started to rumble underneath the ocean, and then it let out a gigantic roar. Oh my goodness! That's a giant wave! I didn't know what to do. The wave was approaching me. I just held my breath and braced myself. The gigantic wave swept me up and started doing damage, and then I plummeted underwater, but the wave carried on over. It was breathtaking. I couldn't believe I survived it, but then another one. This is absolutely crazy. I had nowhere else left to turn, so I headed underwater and dodged the gigantic wave. The gigantic whale-like creature disappeared into the distance. That was crazy. I headed back to my island. It was destroyed, and then I noticed the octopus was stranded. I couldn't believe it. I tried to save his life, but he died. Out of nowhere, I heard this strange sound, and then suddenly crabs started spawning on my island and started doing damage to me. Can I not just catch a break? I cleared the island of crabs and then quickly realized I've lost everything, including the chest filled with all those items that the turtle dropped. And speaking of the turtle, he appeared out of nowhere and started swimming towards me. Hey, yo, I hope he's friendly.
Hey, new guy, that was wild.
I know, right? Those waves were huge.
Must have been Sonica. She uses her voice to move the water, like a sonic boom.
Hey, but why would she want to hurt me?
The tropical life don't like new guys. It's only a matter of time before more monsters arrive.
Wait. Like what?
Giant crabs, pirates, the lobster king, the lava lord, list goes on, my friend. These waters are deadly, my dude. You better start building a base.
Hey, maybe you could help me out with some items, or...
Wait, I got an idea.
The turtle then submerged himself in the tropical water and swam off into the distance. I hope he comes back with something good. It was time to build a base, so I prepared for a long mining trip. Look at this unlimited food supply. I headed into the caves, and everything was submerged by water, so I used the doors to create air pockets and then get to work mining. I was collecting plenty of ores, and then I headed down and found a mine shaft, but inside were these 2 undead miners. These guys must have been down here a long time, but they were pretty easy to kill. They also dropped some iron tools, which may be handy in the future. I then looked inside the chest in the mine shaft and grabbed some iron. I then found an amethyst geode and performed the classic montage. I then came across a huge mine shaft, but this one was filled with a lot more undead miners, which proved to be a little tougher, so I used my agility to dodge the zombies and then take them out. I thought I'd take the opportunity to take as much wood from this mine shaft as possible. I cleared the whole place out, but then things got serious. I got hit by a poisonous cave spider, and it got me down to half a heart, so I quickly retreated and started placing blocks everywhere. Whew. That was a close one. I then returned to mining wood, but it wasn't over. A bunch of crabs out of nowhere started attacking me again. In groups, these crabs can be pretty dangerous, but I finished them off and then used the crab meat to finally craft that oceanic axe. This means I could collect wood a lot quicker and do some serious damage. I headed back up to my island, patched in all the damaged areas, and then got to work building my base. I didn't have a ton of materials, nor were my building skills that impressive, but I managed to build a beautiful little home on the tropical ocean. We were making some serious progress. The next day, the turtle returned with some bad news. Hey, listen up, kid. Pirates are on their way. Newcomers like you are worth a lot of treasure. You better get to work. Take these cannonballs. When you're done building your defenses, come to me, and I'll give you the cannons. I got to work straight away. I headed underground and started grabbing as many materials as I could. No pirate was going to defeat me. I built a giant wall which protected my base. I wasn't going to let this island get destroyed again. Once I was finished with the wall, I placed down the pile of cannonballs, spoke to the turtle, and set up the cannons. I was locked and loaded and ready for this pirate attack. I waited patiently. The bubbles of the tropical fish were unsettling. I started to get nervous. Would my wall be able to hold back the cannonballs? I spent the night fishing for food. I was going to need it. I haven't slept in days. I spent the entire night battling phantoms. I need a bed. It was time. I stood face to face with a giant pirate ship approaching me from the distance. This guy looked mean.
You're worth a lot of treasure, me lad.
Oh no! A second pirate ship! This was going to be tough. It's time to fight. I headed over to the second cannon. This ship was a lot closer.
Hello, newcomer. Let's see if your wall can withstand this.
The pirate ignited the cannon and lit off a cannonball. Whoa! It destroyed a huge chunk of my wall. I decided to load the cannon and fire one back. I made a giant hole in the bottom of the ship, but then he returned another one. He missed. Time to return fire. Another fantastic hit, but then the pirate returned one final blow and destroyed my tower. I swam towards the giant hole I had made in the boat, but the crew were prepared. It was time to battle these pirates. Their giant cutlasses were pristine and sharp and did a ton of damage, so I used my agility to dodge the pirates' slices and then take them out with my oceanic axe. Once the pirate was destroyed, he dropped his pirate cutlass, so I picked it up and headed into the next room. But these pirates were armed with pistols. Whoa, that's a ton of damage. I gotta hide. I replenished my health with crab meat and then jumped out to face these guys head on. Their pistols do so much damage, I had to act quickly. One down, now for the final blow. Success. I looked up and saw the rest of the crew was waiting for me. I was feeling unstoppable. I grabbed a couple of swords and headed up. More gunmen. I'll have to be smart. Collectively, these pirate gunmen were doing some serious damage, and I almost lost my life. The lack of sleep had caused phantoms to spawn. This was getting too overwhelming. I headed back, replenished my health with food, and finally took out the last few enemies. I stood on the edge of the ship and locked eyes with the enemy pirate.
Captain Octopus doesn't lose.
The captain started raining hellfire on my defenses. He destroyed my complete wall. I wasn't going to let him attack my base, so I headed down off of the plank and headed towards his ship. This wasn't going to be an easy battle. You don't have to do this.
I surrender to no man. We don't like newcomers in this ocean, so it's time to take you down.
A giant tentacle emerged from the ship and tried to take me down. He then started slicing me with his cutlass. This wasn't going to be an easy fight. His tentacles did extreme amounts of damage. There was no way escaping this guy. I tried to close the gap to hit him with my sword, but he was just too fast and too powerful. I decided to eat my golden apple and head back in. I did some decent blows, but once again, he struck me with his sword. I was learning his combos. First he'd strike me with his tentacles, try and hit me with a pistol, then slice me with his cutlass. But I was just too smart. I dodged his hits and headed back in to do some final blows. Dodge, smack, and finally, I defeated the pirate. We are safe for now. I decided to explore the rest of the boat, and I found some music playing from the basement. So I headed down to take a look, and there was a little dancing crab. This was the strangest thing I've seen. Maybe he was captured here and he's happy he's free.
Captain Octo never loses.
Suddenly a giant tentacle emerged and smacked the TNT, igniting it. Oh no, gotta get away, gotta get away. The TNT exploded. The explosion was colossal and destroyed the entire ship. This was incredible. I was lucky to survive. Woo. I was observing the damage when suddenly the little crab appeared and he was huge. I thought he was going to attack me, but instead he just scuttled away in the tropical waters. That can't be good. Enough drama, let's just explore the ship. I found some chests and it was filled with saplings, gold, bones, cobwebs, all the things that would help me with my survival skills. I then headed back over to the other ship to take a look, and inside was something magical. a special sword, a map, and a book. I opened the book and it read inside that the X's lead to the armor that grants this sword its full power. This is insane. I looked at the map and it seemed to be a volcano of some sort. If I can get my hands on that armor, I'll be safe from all the dangers in the tropical ocean. A new adventure on this tropical journey. Whilst heading out, I quickly realized the sword granted me special abilities. I can use the force of the water to increase my movement, and it also allowed me to use the water as an attack. I guess the pirates were also looking for that armor set. I couldn't believe it. This sword was insane. If I get my hands on that armor, I'll be protected from all the dangers that the turtle was talking about. I used the sails from the ship to make myself a bed and finally got some sleep. Next day, I extended my island slightly and planted all of the saplings I had collected and then used bone meal to make them grow. Next step was to head out and find that island and get my hands on that armor set. My journey took days and I saw some absolutely beautiful sights. Jellyfish, dangerous sharks, and even some cute little fish like these guys. After exploring the tropical ocean for quite some time, I finally arrived. Approached the shore of the tropical island thinking these guys were friendly, but they really weren't. And then a wave emitted from my sword. I genuinely didn't mean to do that. I had unlocked a bunch of new abilities with the sword. I grabbed some wood, made a crafting table, and used a turtle scoop to make myself some turtle tools. This should stop the turtles from attacking me because, you know, they'll realize they're messing with the big dog. I used the tropical sword to traverse the island on my hunt for that giant volcano. Whilst exploring the tropical island, I came across these creepy, crawly dragonflies and a bunch of other pirates who must be looking for the armor as well. Yo! This sword is crazy! I spent a good few days trawling through the maze-like jungle, and my goodness, this place is beautiful. Day had turned to night, and I had all the tools to survive, although not everything was out to kill me. The next day, I had found the volcano, and this thing was absolutely colossal. And although there was no lava inside, things were about to get fiery.
Leave my home, newcomer. You're not welcome here.
Suddenly, meteors were falling from the sky. Things got dangerous fast. The lava lord appeared and he's absolutely massive! He immediately started attacking me with lava. I equipped my magical sword and headed in for battle using tidal waves mixed with slices. I lifted him with a giant water bubble. He deflected my attacks. A whirlwind of lava emerged around him.
I won't let you leave here alive, newcomer.
The beast then launched me high into the sky, and when I fell, I was left with just half a heart. He then began to charge at me. I had no choice but to face him. I started slicing him with my tropical sword. But once again, a whirlwind of lava had protected him. I found a weakness behind him and started dealing some serious damage. But then he let out a humongous roar. The lava lord was furious and he slammed down, shaking the entire volcano. I regained my strength and started swiping him with my sword, using water attacks. The fight was coming to an end. The lava lord just needed one more strike, so I used a tidal wave to take him down. The volcano rumbled as the beast yelped in pain. Whilst I was replenishing my health, lightning struck the volcano from the sky. I was expecting the armor to appear, but instead it was a chest, and when I opened it up, there was another map inside with a couple of weapons. Another red X. I guess our adventure continues, so I headed off the volcano and began my journey home. Confronted by turtles, I used my new tools to take them out. I then decided to take some time to grab a bunch of resources for when I head home. It's been a crazy few days. I can't wait to get back and work on my island. I'm gonna build a storage facility, probably have some sand. Once I made it back home, I decided to dedicate a good chunk of time to improving my living space. I built a new storage facility and then added walls around my entire island so I felt a little safer. I also padded the island out with sand so it felt just a little more tropical. I also planted a palm tree, which, if I'm lucky, I can get some coconuts. I also made a place in my storage where I can store my maps. Oof, that volcano was crazy, bro. After inspecting the map, it's clear that there's a lot of water, so it's probably a good idea to make some water breathing potions, and for that, I'd have to head into the nether and get my hands on some blaze rod. Upon entering, I surveyed the area and noticed there was a bastion, so I used my tropical sword and headed over. I scaled the structure and eliminated the piglins that were guarding the chests and did a little bit of looting. After quite some time, I found the fortress and got to work killing blazes for some blaze rod. I utilized all my oceanic tools to extinguish the blazes. Almost there. I headed home, made myself a brewing stand, and then placed it inside my home. Grabbed some pufferfish, and then started brewing up... Oh, wait. I forgot nether water.
Alright, back in action. I grabbed my map, jumped on my raft, and headed overseas. I knew it wouldn't be long before I was attacked by some sort of mob, and this time it was a hammerhead shark. But using my tropical sword, I slammed into the water and lifted him up in a bubble. And then when he fell, I took him out. In the corner of my eye, though, I noticed a shipwreck. So I decided to head down and explore. I wonder if there's any treasure. Whoa! That's a giant kraken! It seems I was ambushed by this 6-tentacle beast, so I drank up my water-breathing potion and headed in. The kraken swallowed me whole and I was suffocating. He then did a whirlwind of attacks and launched me across the ocean. The creature then performed a flurry of hard-hitting blows. Lightning struck as this showdown continued. Neither of us were backing down. I speedily sliced the kraken's tentacles in an angry flurry, but then he swallowed me once again. This ends now. I slice myself out from the belly of the beast. Upon its death, the kraken dropped this old anchor, and when I tested it out, it worked like a pickaxe and mined 3x3. Super handy for mining. I swam back up top, jumped on my raft, and then headed out to find that armor. It took a few days, but I finally found it. It was a giant ocean temple. This tropical ocean never fails to amaze me. I slurped up my potion and headed in. I expected to be surrounded by danger, but this place looks abandoned. It's just filled with these beautiful little tropical fish. I headed deeper into the monument. There were a few sharks hiding away in the depths of the temple, but nothing I couldn't handle. And then I noticed it. The armor. It was just sitting there in this abandoned library inside the temple. I couldn't believe my eyes. I quickly took it off the armor stand and placed the armor on. Its powers engulfed me. I could now breathe underwater and I was super fast. Time to head back. I found this opening and jumped up. When I made it up though, I was met by a giant lobster king. Oh no! Where am I? My head. The Lobster King had captured me on his pirate ship and commanded his crew to take me back to Pirate Cove, a tropical island filled with pirates. When I woke up, I was imprisoned.
I finally got my hands on a newcomer. You're worth a lot of pennies out here in the tropical ocean, boy.
You won't get away with this, you big red ugly lobster.
Blah, blah. I'll deal with you in the morning. Watch him, boys.
Day turned to night and I was still imprisoned with no sign of escaping. But then I overheard the guards.
You keep an eye on him all night, alright? Don't let him escape. The boss has asked me to move his items down into the caves. Whatever you do, don't let that boy escape.
Aye, aye, Captain. With the new knowledge of my inventory's whereabouts, it was time to strike fast. I started breaking the cage. Come on. Yes, okay, the first one. Second one, let's go, let's move. The pirate guard was completely oblivious to my whereabouts, so I made a sprint for it. I ran as fast as I could. Oh no, another pirate. I hid behind the brick wall and waited for the enemy to pass. And then when the coast was clear, I made a run for it. I was dodging pirates left, right, and center and was getting closer to my belongings. Whilst honing in on my parkour skills, the Lobster King started shouting out.
You may have escaped the prison, but you won't escape the island, lad.
I had to move with haste. I parkoured across the island and then headed down into the caves. I navigated the maze-like corridors and then finally came across my stuff. I opened the chest, retrieved my items, but then I was ambushed by a pirate from behind. I took him down, headed out, and stood face to face with the Lobster King.
Let's see what you're made of, boy.
It could all end here. I jumped down and prepared to face the Lobster King. This wasn't going to be easy. His first attack was strategic. He launched me high into the sky, and when I gained my footing, he started battling me with his giant claws. And then following this, he started to regenerate his health while taking mine. After dodging his attacks, I launched myself, penetrating his defenses and letting out a flurry of attacks. But it did barely any damage, and he returned with a giant slam of his claw. He wasn't done. He grabbed me, picked me up, and launched me. He gave me no time to breathe. He jumped into the sky and slammed down, doing tons of damage. I was left with just half a heart. He then tossed me across the battlefield, and it gave me a chance to create some distance. He tried to regenerate his health once again, but I wasn't going to allow it. I headed in and started striking him. This time I wasn't backing down. When he threw me, I ran straight back in, launching tidal waves and water attacks. This was it. This was the moment. I started to let out a flurry of attacks to defeat him, and finally, I killed the Lobster King. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Time to get out of here. I was surrounded by pirates and in no mood to continue fighting, so I started to sprint away, dodging the gunman's pistol shots. As I was running for my life, I noticed the crab from earlier had also been captured. I couldn't just leave him here to die, so I jumped up and started chipping away at the prison. I hopped in the cage. Whoa, you're scary up close. I used my anchor to break the base of the prison and free the crab. We both sprinted away together and headed back to my survival island. We did it!
We crossed the tropical ocean and survived. I promised the crab I would build him a home, but in the meantime, go chill out in the warm water. Time to get to work. But first, sleep.
Oh, I'm in so much trouble.
The next day I got to work collecting as many resources as I could for my friendly new crab's home. I also traversed the tropical ocean, exploring different islands. But then this happened. A giant crab disguised as a palm tree emerged from the island. I can't catch a break. This turtle launched high into the sky and used his shell as a weapon to attack me. He was far too dangerous to take on, so I used my tropical sword to launch him high into the sky in a bubble and used the opportunity to escape. I sprinted away as fast as possible and headed for my raft, but this guy was relentless and started chasing after me. I paddled and paddled as fast as I could. I was just too quick for the turtle, and finally I escaped. Whew! I picked up the last few resources, then headed home. Before I built the crab's home, I got to work patching up the giant wall from the pirate attack. After this, I got to work building my new friend a comfy home to live in. And I must say, this place is pretty cute. I fed the giant crab some coconuts and then led him into his new home. He seemed really content. He thanked me and then we shared some coconuts together. Some excellent progress made in just a few days. My island was looking perfect. The breeze was blowing, the tropical ocean was amazing. But it all came to an end because Sonica had arrived. My new friend fled in terror. Come back! I was absolutely furious. Sonica had sent another wave my way, but I wasn't going to let it stop me. This ends here. As the giant colossal wave approached me, I prepared to jump over it with my tropical sword. The armor's oceanic powers engulfed me and I sped through the ocean, dodging the waves as they came at me. I leapt over the final wave and then sped through the ocean to find Sonica. This ends now. She stared me down. It was time to fight. Sonica fired a sonic boom at me, so I returned with my blade. She tried chewing through my armor, then fired a sonic boom, launching me across the tropical ocean. The current was too strong to swim against, so I used my ocean bow to fire across the distance, causing damage. Sonica was enraged, but I continued dodging her sonic booms and firing arrows. I saw an opportunity to strike, so I closed the gap and started slicing at Sonica. But then she did a ton of damage, and whilst I was trying to eat, she released an ink sac that was extremely poisonous. I couldn't get close. She then started sending lethal tidal waves towards me, but I used the power of the armor to dodge the attacks. I was absolutely exhausted. My bow was no longer penetrating her coral-like scales. I had no choice but to use the power of the armor and my sword to finally strike Sonica down. It was over. She lay there floating, still, and then suddenly poofed into a bunch of bubbles. The fight was finally over, so I headed back to my island to make some last few adjustments. I really hope my crab friend returns. I kind of miss him. I placed the final map, as if it was a souvenir. Man, what a journey we've been on. The giant turtle returned and also congratulated me. Hey, good job, kid. Thanks, dude. Suddenly, lightning struck my island and summoned the god of the sea. It was Poseidon.
No time to explain, Chosen One. Come with me.
What the? Where am I? It's so cold. Wait, who are you? Wait, no! I'm trapped in the Arctic Ocean, where Norse gods rule the skies, Vikings, goblins, and the undead roam the Arctic seas, and giant monsters lurk everywhere in between, all with one goal: to hunt me down, including this giant killer whale that was chasing me. I was swimming as fast as I could. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the ocean. The whale fled in terror. I looked up to find an intense storm, thunder and lightning crashing against the ocean's surface. It was Thor, the god of thunder.
Boy, why do you roam these oceans alone? It is far too dangerous. You must build shelter, and when you're ready, there is a town nearby that may take you in. Be safe, brave one. Use your head.
Lightning struck ocean, and he was gone. After Thor disappeared in a bolt of lightning, I decided to explore the Arctic Ocean. I stumbled across an iceberg floating on the surface. To my surprise, when I smashed the iceberg, it dropped an item. After this, I continued to float on my ice raft until I found a small frozen island to climb upon. In the distance, I noticed more of the icebergs from earlier floating towards me, so I decided to go ahead and break them. Each floating iceberg dropped useful materials, including some dirt and this tree sapling. Day one came to a close, and the night was filled
filled with mobs, so I just chilled underground until it was safe. Day 2. During my hunt for food, the tree sapling I planted had finally grown, so I put my fists and wood to good use to craft a full set of basic tools. Now we just wait for the tree sapling. Oh. I decided to make a bunch of doors to create air pockets so I could get my hands on some stone to upgrade my tools. This way, they lasted a little longer when I was gathering materials throughout the day. I grabbed a bunch of snow from a nearby mountain so I could finish the day building a cozy igloo. But this guy wasn't having it. Mr. Wannabe Poseidon over here launched tridents at me left, right, and center, dealing some crazy damage. It sent me into the next day with just half a heart, so I knew I had to get my act together and build some shelter. As you can see, I handcrafted the most intricate and complex igloo design known to the entire human race. The next day, after the mobs were done sunbathing, I grabbed some more stone, crafted myself a furnace, and cooked up some fish. Them omega-3 juices be bussin'. Things suddenly got intense. The ground beneath me began to shake, and to my surprise, the killer whale had returned. This whale's bite packed a punch. I raced to the igloo to replenish my health, but I had nothing. I had no choice but to dive into the freezing waters and grab some grub. The whale taunted me, lurking in the waters. The moment I grabbed the fish, the whale pounced. I launched into a flurry of sword attacks to keep the beast at bay, but its bone-crushing jaws were too powerful. I was down to just half a heart. I quickly fled to the surface and into my igloo to cook the food I risked my life for. With hearts came bravery. I dived back into cold waters to face the giant whale. I sliced and stabbed with my stone sword. Finally, the beast was slain, and with it came a reward. The deep rumbles of our battle had shook icebergs free. I took advantage of the aftermath and smashed the icebergs, grabbing even more useful items I may need on my journey. When I returned to my island, I had visitors, a small waddle of penguins.
Thank you for taking down that whale. We can finally swim in peace. We've been watching you for a few days, kid. Impressive igloo, I must say.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
Harold, will you just get to the point? The kid's gonna freeze to death.
Wait, what are you talking about?
We wanted to tell you sooner. There's a snowstorm that rolls through these parts every few days. And well, today's that day, kid. Get inside!
The sky turned white. Everywhere I looked, there were heaps and heaps of snow spiraling around me frantically. I tried racing back to my igloo for cover, but the icy wind swept me from my feet, launching me up and into the Arctic Ocean. I finally crawled my way back to shelter and waited for the storm to pass overnight. With sunrise, the storm had settled. I left my igloo to find the penguins had gone. They were equipped for this kind of scenario, unlike me. No building materials, food, or company. I decided it was time to go out exploring and find one of those settlements Thor mentioned. I really hoped they were friendly. I jumped on my ice raft and headed out into the unknown. After some time exploring, it came to an abrupt end as I discovered some mysterious figures in the distance. They were Vikings, calling for help.
Our village is under attack. The undead used the storm as cover and then ambushed us. We need all the help we can get. We're losing more and more men.
Do I look like Viking material to you? Look at the size of those skeletons.
You're braver than you think. Aiding a Viking in battle is always rewarded in our settlement. If you survive, of course.
The rewards looked too juicy to turn down. They looked powerful. It was risky, but I decided to accept the quest and head into the village to fend off the undead. I joined the small army of Vikings nearby in their battle with the undead axe bearer. I hit the skeleton a few times, but this creature was huge and dealt some serious damage. I had to retreat quickly. The Vikings finished the beast off. A soldier exclaimed,
"We'll hold this area. Go help the others."
I quickly replenished some health and headed in to face the second creature. I dug deep into the front line, striking the gutless creature with my small but reliable stone sword. I stood guard with my Viking peers and pushed the beast into freezing waters. With his joints frozen, we dived in, determined to destroy the undead creature. I watched as a Viking in rage struck its skeletal frame until it was no more. He signaled to me underwater, head up and finish off the final attacker. It was just me and one other versus the enemy. I used the same tactics from earlier, forcing the skeleton into the ocean, freezing its bones, and then striking it with my sword. It was gone! I did it! I swam to the surface to find the Viking army waiting for me.
A true display of bravery. Aha! Let us cheer, boys!
The village I had helped save was called Jakolsa, a small but noble Viking town filled with life, food, and materials, which hopefully I could get my hands on.
As promised, your rewards for helping us in our victory.
A chest appeared in front of me. For completing the quest, I had gained 3 new items: an Arctic fishing rod, a Viking axe, and an ice bow infused with an ice mage's magic. Sweet!
If helping people is your thing, brave one, head into town. There's always someone in need of help here in Jakolsa.
More quests means more rewards, so I headed into Jakolsa, hoping to get more insane weapons. As I wandered through the town, the Vikings were greeting me. One even gifted me a Viking shield. With this new tool in hand, I headed over to a local bystander to see if he had a quest for me.
The village is running low on supplies, our mineshaft is out of bounds, and it's all because of a horrid ice-blooded creature that lurks down there. Listen, dude, if you take this thing out for me, I can use its ice shards to craft you some really useful gear. And Jakolsa's resources will be up and running again. It's a win-win.
I really needed some better gear, and by the looks of those rewards, I was in for a pickaxe and some magical staffs. I had no choice but to accept the quest from the miner. Before heading out, I stocked up on some food using my new Arctic fishing rod, and whilst it was cooking, crafted myself some more stone tools. I then headed into the miner's cave using the town's cart system. The cart looped in circles, leading deeper and deeper into the underground. When I reached the bottom, I discovered a chunk of the cave's wall had been frozen. Could the creature be behind this wall? It was too risky to face this creature unprotected, so let's go ahead and... With a full set of iron armor, I started mining my way into the frozen wall in search for the monster. Eventually, I reached the end of the tunnel to find a large frozen cave. I headed in carefully. Icicles scattered this creature's lair. At first, I thought I was alone, when suddenly the creature emerged. The frozen beast rattled the cave's walls with its roar, summoning chunks of ice that slashed at my heart, doing some chilling damage. I tried to create some space, retreating slightly. However, the creature let out a monstrous roar, slowing me down. I tried to escape, but the monster doubled down, shooting huge explosive icicle-like bombs that rumbled the entire cave, forcing me to pivot around the creature, using my ice bow to pierce the monster's frozen weak spots. It roared in pain, summoning more chunks of ice to block the arrows. This left me with no choice but to close the gap and strike the icebreaker with my Viking axe. My brutal strike smashed masses of ice from the creature's face, forcing the ice monster to summon ice golems from the chunks of ice scattered around this now frozen arena. The golem's sharp, frosty claws bruised me, knocking me back, away from their guardian. But risking my hearts, I relentlessly beat down the ice golems, all whilst dodging the creature's explosive ice bombs. The creature was weak. Its accuracy was fading. I found an opening and struck at the beast with my axe, finally destroying the ice monster. It left behind an ice shard, sparkling in this now empty frozen layer. I retrieved the ice shard and headed back to the mine shaft, mining ores along the way. I followed the tunnel home, hopped back in the ice cart, and followed the tracks back to the surface, ready to claim my rewards.
Hooray, hooray! Thank you, brave one. And now as for that ice shard, let me just... Here we go, just take this. Boom. Okay, and now a little minor magic. All done. Here you go.
A chest appeared in front of me. Inside lied 3 items: a durable pickaxe, a small ice staff, and a large glacier staff, infused with the shard's ultra abilities. The miner thanked me for completing the quest and headed back safely into the mine shaft. I decided to leave Jakolsa for a few days and head home. I used my new staff's ice attacks to clear the sky of phantoms. The storm was getting worse, so I took shelter in my igloo until the beautiful morning came, then headed underground. I killed this baby zombie, then used my tools to collect resources, including ores, deep slate, and wood from a mine shaft. I returned home, made some space on my island, and built a small and humble house out of wood and deep slate. I added some chests for storage. All I needed was a bed, as I was tired of fighting phantoms, so I headed back to Jakolsa to see if I could grab one. Whilst walking through the town, I stumbled across an argument.
Hey, be grateful you've got any food at all.
Oh, I'm sick of eating that fish. I headed up to see if I could help.
The townspeople are tired of eating the same food every day. Fish, fish, fish. But it's not my fault. I lost my recipe books. I can't cook without my recipe books. Hey, listen, you think you could find them? I lost them whilst looking for plants out at sea, near the Great Cold Sierra. It's dangerous out there, but nothing your magic staffs can't handle.
I was certainly ready for another adventure, and the rewards looked insane. Just look at that. What even is that? I went ahead and accepted the chef's quest. I left the Viking island and jumped on my iceberg.
The boy heads into danger. I must keep an eye on him.
During my voyage, I took on a couple of undead skeletons using my magical staffs. The big dude was tough as nails, but I used my glacier staff to line the floor with spikes, followed by a summoning of ice crystals that fell from the sky. The explosive frost kept the gutless creature in place whilst I finished him off with my axe. And looks like I gave this guy his home back. I had finally made it. This was the Frozen Sierra. Its rocky structure was hard to navigate. The mountains were filled with deadly frozen spirits, frozen mobs, and of course phantoms and creepers. This place is hell, man. During the morning, I found the first recipe book. All the commotion must have shifted the snow. With 4 left to find, I got to work pretty quickly. One recipe book was stuck on an ice pillar, so I used my fishing rod to pull it down to ground level, where I spent the night during a snowstorm. I found the 3rd book being guarded on the top of a mountain by a snowy tiger. I tried sneaking up on him, but he heard me coming and sprinted towards me. I channeled a beam of ice to keep the tiger back. I took out the tiger with my axe and picked the recipe book up. I studied the maze-like mountains in the frozen Sierras. The puzzling paths led me to a structure in the frosty canyon. As I approached the building, I heard screams. Before I could head in, the wooden doors were busted open, revealing a giant bearded dude. He threw one of his axes at me.
Stop right there, you little intruder.
He grabbed his axe from the ground. But I heard screams. What are you doing in there?
Do you not know who I am? I'm Bjorn. I feast on screams. I roam this ocean, claiming all that is rightfully mine. Now leave. You're wasting my time and I've got a Viking town to pillage. And I'd like to get there before nightfall.
Viking town? You mean Jakolsa? I can't let you take it.
Ooh, someone's feeling brave. I'm gonna enjoy this.
The pillager jumped into the air and came crashing down with his axes, summoning bolts of lightning. He then clawed at me with his weapons. He missed his second swing, giving me a chance to strike him with my own Viking axe. He countered with another slam attack, then threw his axe. I returned with a beam of ice using my glacier staff, combined with a flurry of ice bombs, freezing Bjorn in place. When he broke free, he tried running.
The boy fights well, but is he ready to wield the hammer? We shall see.
With one final strike, the giant pillager was gone. He left behind more axes and a helmet. Turns out the beard were as fake as his threats. When I told the mystery hostage it was safe, out came a lonely villager.
Oh, thank you. It's a miracle you came when you did. Why are you out here anyway? No one visits these mountains unless they need to.
Well, I'm looking for recipe books. A chef from a Viking village lost them. If I return them, he's gonna give me some pretty sweet gear.
Wait, you mean these?
Yes! How did you find those?
I found them whilst exploring the mountains. You'd be amazed what you find in these parts. Here, take the books. Thank you so much for saving me.
The villager gave me the last 2 recipe books I needed. He headed back inside, and I headed back ready to claim my rewards.
Oh, Jakolsa. I better tell the others. Fresh meat.
Little did I know that I was being followed by a group of ice goblins back to the Viking town. I made it back to Jakolsa and returned the recipe books to the chef.
I'm so happy you found them. Let us celebrate with a gathering this evening. You can help with the preparation using your rewards. Build a farm area and plant potatoes and carrots. I'll use them in my recipes to make us all a delicious meal. Oh, and go and speak to the miner. He has a little gift for you to help with the farm prep.
I had completed the quest. Another chest filled with rewards. I had obtained a brutally sharp and icy spear, a bunch of health potions, and a water-infused hoe, which brought me on to my next task. I headed underground using the cart system to find the miner had resided in the old ice creature's lair. I was really feeling my impact on this town. The miner had used more ice shards to craft me a glacier shovel, which I used to grab a load of dirt so I could plant the seeds I'd collected from the floating icebergs. For the next couple days, I built a small farm area where I used my new tool to plant carrots, potatoes, and other vegetables for the chef's gathering. I also grabbed some wool so I could craft a bed after the gathering. Finally, nightfall was here and the Vikings had gathered to eat the chef's tasty meal. Finally, not just fish, but things were about to go south.
Did you poison all of the food in the farm?
Of course I did, just enough to send them all to sleep.
Enjoy your little party.
Overlooking the Viking town, a goblin watched as we all celebrated. But little did we know that the goblins had poisoned the food. I began to feel lightheaded. The town was in danger. I began to panic. I wouldn't be there to help defend Jakolsa. Before I knew it, my vision started fading and I passed out. A large squad of ice goblins watched as their poison knocked out the guards one by one until the whole town was asleep. They creeped in house to house. Their intentions were clearly evil. The next morning, I awoke to find myself in a secret room, and one of the king's guards were explaining what had happened.
And during the night, the goblins goblins snuck in and kidnapped our town's best men. I think they're gonna eat them, but our scouts have managed to find the goblin camp. Go speak to the king, quickly.
I left the secret room and sprinted past the guards into the king's humble home.
Oh my, this is a total disaster. Those are our best men. You have to help us, brave one. The goblins will spot one of my Viking men from a mile away. But you, oh yes, you're small and fierce. You'll be able to sneak right in and rescue my men. Bring them back safely, brave one, and you'll take your place as my captain here in Jakusa. I'll have my miner craft you the finest armor the Arctic Ocean has ever seen.
This reward was exceptional. The armor looked extremely tough and laced with potential magical abilities. A full set of Arctic armor would be perfect for the ocean's icy conditions, so I accepted the quest and started to prepare. I grabbed some potatoes for the road and headed into the mines for diamonds, so I could craft a full set of diamond armor just in case I need to fight the goblins. I jumped on my iceberg and headed out to the goblin camp. En route to the camp, I found myself approaching the coast of the frozen Sierra, which was littered with mobs. I used my new spear to work my way through waves of strays, zombies, and creepers. I discovered the spear knocked back enemies and slowed their movement. This was great when dealing with lots of mobs at once. Whilst working my way through icy peaks, I stumbled across an ice goblin. He was on patrol but had no idea I was here. I knew I was close to the camp, so I tried sneaking past the icy brute. But just when I thought I was clear, he spotted me and managed to deal some serious damage. I rapidly shoveled through snow to make it out on the other side to safety. The Sierra was a battle in itself, but with the help of health potions, I kept my hearts up for just enough time to make it to the goblin camp, which was pretty huge and littered with evil. My nimble size and thick snowfall were my only advantages here. I climbed up onto one of the goblin ships and I was already met with enemies. I creeped past. If I was caught now, they'd surely eat me. It was clear no one suspected I was here. I perched on the edge of the ship to locate a safe path around the goblins. I jumped off the boat and hopped on the ice, sliding past danger. I checked to see if anyone spotted me. I was in the clear. The next area was being guarded by 2 huge goblin elites, protecting a building. I suspected a Viking was in there. I creeped past the goblins, but one almost spotted me, so I sprinted to hide behind the logs. My stealth skills were top-notch. I saw an opening and sprinted round the back of the building. I then broke into it using my axe. You're safe now. Get out of the back and I'll meet you on the other side of the island.
Yes, sir. I hope you can save the others.
The Viking fled up the mountain, and I got moving. The goblin suddenly reacted.
Must have been the wind.
Phew, that was close. The icy goblin made his way down the path, so I sprinted away to find the other Vikings. I got real close behind this ice goblin. So close that he heard me. The goblin had spotted me. This wasn't the plan. The camp's tower rang piercing bell noises. Suddenly, the whole camp knew of my presence and were on alert. Spears at the ready. The goblins were acrobatic. They launched spears at my head, but I dodged them and struck them down with my ice spear. I continued to defend myself against another group of deadly goblins, then headed into the tall building they were protecting. I found 2 Vikings imprisoned. After breaking their cage, one of the Vikings stopped to inform me that other Vikings were just 1 minute away from their demise. They were locked away above the chief goblin's fire pit. I had to act fast. There was no way I was failing this quest. 60 seconds left. The first dude was acrobatic. After flinging a spear at my head, he front flipped and kicked me midair. I used my staff to freeze him in place, suffocating him. I was really against the time here, so I fought with efficiency, striking down enemies with haste. After the area was cleared, I threw down a health potion.
You'll never make it through me.
The cursed ice goblin used his staff to summon a snowy hurricane. With just 30 seconds on the clock, I had to act quickly. The wind was making it almost impossible to move freely. I pulled out my ice staff and fired it into the clouds. I was hoping that the staff's energy was enough to dissipate the snowstorm. It worked!
What? How did you... No!
The goblin was enraged. We exchanged attacks, which left me with just half a heart. The goblin fell. Oh no! Just 5 seconds. I had to run as fast as possible. I sprinted through the doors to find the goblin chief and his bodyguards.
You're too late, little worm. Your Vikings are toast and you can't save them.
I jumped into the fire pit, risking my heart, and used my ice shovel to quickly put out the fire to save the Vikings. The goblin laughed.
Oh, you may have put out a little fire, but try escaping with your life. My bodyguards won't let you.
Suddenly, the building started shaking, and I could hear thunder. It can't be. It was Thor! Bolts of lightning surrounded the Norse god as he descended in a rage, striking the town with his elemental powers. The goblins fell like dominoes, and the villainous town began to catch fire. I ran outside to greet him again.
Need a hand, brave one?
The goblin chief is about to do something horrible. I can't let the people of Jakolsa die because of me. Thor turned towards the chief's home and used his hammer to strike it with lightning.
Not lightning. Fine, take your men, but I'll have my revenge.
Thor flew into the sky. I quickly mined the cage, freeing the Vikings, and then began our escape. We ran through the town, which had been devastated by Thor. Once we made it to the other side, Thor was waiting for us.
Impressive work, brave one. Jakolsa's men live to see another day. How about you head back on your raft? I'll fly these men back to Jakolsa.
Wow, thank you, Thor. You really showed them who's boss. I'll meet you back at Jakolsa. Another quest completed. I headed back through icy waters, ready to retrieve my rewards. Upon my return, Thor, the king, and his town were all waiting for me, cheering.
Let us all celebrate for Jakolsa's new captain! Your armor, as promised, my friend.
The chest appeared and fireworks popped above. Inside was my brand new armor. Woo! I was looking like a true warrior.
Try walking on water, brave one. Test your armor's ability.
The armor granted me frost walker and ice resistance, which will definitely keep me protected. The town celebrated from morning to night. We were all drinking the tavern's special drink, and some of us had a little too much. The next morning I was collecting resources, walking on water, breaking tons of icebergs with my ice staff. I used my armor to run all the way home, so I could finally craft a bed and sleep. Next day I displayed my captain's helmet, which now marked this small icy island as property of Jakolsa. I wanted to expand my home a little more and enchant my new armor, so I grabbed a bunch of saplings from the frozen blocks, created a small tree farm, and headed underground whilst I waited for the trees to grow. I mined a bunch of ores and other materials. Hey yo bro, I'm captain of Jakolsa now. I ain't gotta talk to zombie peasants like you, alright? I of course grabbed obsidian so I could build a nether portal when I get home, which of course would be a totally safe and normal nether trip with no evil monster interference whatsoever. You'd think, right? I stumbled across a stone generator from Wish, which I took total advantage of, and then I headed back, hit some Z, and then began expanding my base using the wood, stone, and deep slate I'd collected on my mining trips. I built the nether portal and lit that bad boy up. I'm thinking I'll put the enchantment table here, but I'll need more XP if I want to enchant the rest of my armor. So I grabbed some sleep and prepared to enter the nether, but there was someone waiting for me by the portal. Luckily, they were friendly.
Dude, you're not gonna believe this. The nether is, frozen. 1 minute I'm trading gold with some piglin friends of mine. The next, this huge frosty monster just starts freezing everything. I lost a ton of gear and gold in there. It's all frozen up. You think you could go in there and try to get my stuff?
As captain of Jakolsa, I of course wanted to help the adventurer. Plus that little Frosco looks like a great companion to help me conquer the Arctic Ocean. So I accepted the quest and headed into the now frozen nether. Oof, it was freezing here. Everything was iced over, but of course these guys were still kicking around. I mined quartz for XP, then headed to the adventurer's last known location, which was completely surrounded by undead looters. So I used my spear to take them all out, then proceeded to try and melt the ice with a flint and steel, in hopes that it would reveal the adventurer's loot.
Oh, you doofus. You can't just melt this stuff. I'm guessing you're a friend of Halfhorn. Listen, I'll help you out. About 20 minutes ago, some round-jumping bounty hunters rode through here and locked up a lava stone golem. Now, there was serious money for their ability to reach high temps. Luckily for you, those temps will be enough to melt this place back to normal. Find the bounty hunters, find your golem. Good luck, kid.
I trawled through the frozen nether until I found one of the bounty hunters. I tried approaching them.
Stop following me.
They teleported away from me, disappearing into the void. I carried on hunting, mining XP on the way, until I found her again. This time, the bounty hunter attacked me with her giant claws, but my new armor absorbed her hits. She fled in frustration again. The heads-on approach clearly wasn't working, so I used the high ground to track her down, and followed her without her knowing. Suddenly, a portal appeared and she jumped through. This had to be where they're keeping the lava stone golem. I approached the portal.
Halt! By order of the Hunters Guild, I demand you to stop following us. We have no business with you.
I'm captain of Jakolsa. Release the golem, and I'll let you walk free.
Captain of what now? Enough of this, you little nerd. I'm taking you in. You puny humans are worth a lot of money.
A battle commenced. I began striking the hunter's longsword with my spear, but he was too skilled a swordsman. He countered with 3 devastatingly heavy swings, knocking me airborne. I returned with more strikes, this time dealing damage, but he was too smart. He looked for an opening and caught me, leaving me with just half a heart. I pulled out my magic staff and used its ice energy to finish off the bounty hunter. Oof, bro's life is in pieces. I finally headed into the portal. Inside was a giant lava chamber. I walked up to the lava stone golem.
Have you come to my aid, my child? I see you possess tools made with ice shards. Break the spell keeping me here by putting out the fires that surround me.
I did as the lava stone golem instructed, then led him to the portal out to the other side.
How can I ever repay you?
Well, I explained my quest and took him to the adventurer's frozen gear. I asked the golem if he could restore the nether. Sounds erupted from the golem. The entire nether felt suddenly extremely hot, and in a flash, all the ice had melted and evaporated away, revealing the adventurer's items. The golem flew away. I retrieved the frozen items and headed back home to complete the quest. I placed down the crate and... and I gave him his sword.
Yo, you did it! You unfroze the nether and got my stuff.
The quest was completed, and my new companion appeared. Oh, bro! He's so sweet. Frosty the Goat was my new companion. He defended my island all night with his ice attacks. Then we headed to bed. Things were happening and I had no idea. Evil was plotting. Danger was certainly on its way. Nobody could prepare themselves for the devastation that was to come. The next day I wanted to spend my XP on enchanting, and I thought as captain of Jakolsa, I earned my right to the bookcases from Jakolsa's library. So with my new ice katana in hand, Frosty and I headed out to Jakolsa. I made it to the enchantment table and enchanted the rest of my gear. Whilst enchanting, the whole town began to shake. I looked outside to find the town was being attacked and Thor was fighting alone. I headed down and started fighting the undead alongside Thor. Whilst his giant hammer bashed enemies, I struck undead looters with my ice spear. Thor's hammer flew past my head, buzzing with electric. I finished off the last few looters whilst Frosty pierced him with his Arctic spike attack. Thor finished off the last skeleton by launching his hammer into the air, then brought it back. I wish I had one of those hammers now, because a giant ice beast revealed himself from under the ice. Thor seemed to know the beast. The creature was extremely powerful. It began to slam the ground, bringing down razor-sharp crystals. The creature possessed the same powers as my staff, but on a whole other level. I had to act tactically. I fired a few bow shots from a distance, then used my staff to pin down the creature. Thor then struck him with his deadly lightning. The giant beast retreated.
You think you've won, Thor, but Ragnarok is already here. We must move quickly, brave one. I will explain on the way.
Where are we going?
Asgard.
I held onto Thor's hammer as he began to fly up. Whoa! We landed in a crop field. I asked why Thor was so worried when the creature said Ragnarok is here.
Ragnarok, where ice and fire become one. All things come to an end, including my home Asgard. Everyone and everything in the Arctic Ocean will be destroyed. The only way to prevent this is to defeat the Lord of Ice and the Lord of Fire. But to do this, you'll need some help from the gods. You'll need your own god-powered hammer. Let's go, brave one.
I grabbed the hammer and we flew to Thor's home. This was Asgard, a city in the clouds, filled with beautiful architecture and mesmerizing nature. When we landed, Thor told me I was to follow him to the altar. Before I could be granted the powers of a god, he must first ask the gods.
My lords, with Ragnarok approaching, I cannot defeat the Ice and Fire Lord by myself. The boy has clearly proven himself. I leave it in your hands.
The room felt eerie. I could feel the energy from the gods above. I was nervous. They wouldn't grant me the hammer, and Ragnarok would occur, destroying all the progress we've made this 100 days. Suddenly, lightning bolts struck the altar, and a brand new shiny hammer was revealed, crafted by the Norse gods. I retrieved my own hammer, and thanked the gods for letting me join their team. The hammer tingled and buzzed. It was filled with abilities. First, I discovered that the hammer could carry me. I had gained the ability to fly. This was amazing! Thor wanted to show me the basics on how to use the hammer for combat, so we flew over Asgard's beautiful landscapes and into a training arena.
Let's make this quick.
The simulation began. My first strike was powered by a bolt of lightning. The second, I could summon lightning strikes from the sky to damage the enemy. The third was a ground pound attack. And finally, my favorite, I could throw the hammer and it would return! No way!
Nice work.
We were ready, equipped for battle. The fate of humanity was at stake. We entered the portal and returned to the Arctic Ocean.
We must stop them from joining forces. I will look for the Ice Lord. You must look for the Lava Lord. Good luck!
He flew away on his hunt for one of the lords. I said my goodbyes to Frosty and flew in a bolt of energy, traveling past the sound barrier. I searched high and low for any sign of the lords pairing together, but we had no luck. Until I found the beginning of the end. Meteors were falling from the sky, destroying the earth beneath it. I found Thor battling the Lava Lord. It was nearly too late. They had already found each other.
Inside, boy. Defeat the Ice Lord.
I did as Thor said and flew into the temple, ready to face the Ice Lord.
The world ends today.
The beast roared in rage and came stomping towards me. I used my katana to try and cut the beast's limbs off, but it was too strong. He hurled an ice pearl at me. I returned with a hammer throw, but I missed. The Ice Lord began to spin. He was growing stronger. It could all end here. Enough was enough. I channeled all my power into flight and hurled myself at the monster, beating him down with one final smash. I had defeated the Ice Lord, but I had to hurry, as he can be revived if the Lava Lord survives. We need to destroy both. I headed out into meteor showers to help Thor defeat the Lava Lord. I threw my hammer, but it didn't return. Wait, no, I'm way too vulnerable. This could be the end. I retreated back to Thor to see if he could protect me.
He told me to get my staff out and pin him down with the energy from the ice staff. I pinned him down while Thor finished the lava lord off. We did it! We defeated them both and stopped Ragnarok. Suddenly the hammer came back. This is the best thing that came out of this whole 100 days. I thanked Thor. Look at the devastation. It was minutes away from hitting the ocean, then everything else. I returned home to Jakolsa, and Frosty was waiting for me. I have one last quest, and it's for you. Go join my Discord. You won't regret it.
I have told many stories. I have seen so many great things. But there is but only one adventure in which I truly became a hero.
Oh no! Ah, there's an iceberg! It won't move! The wind's too strong! I'm gonna hit it! No! I somehow survived the storm, but then I found myself stranded on a tropical island. Surrounded by tropical friends and tropical enemies, it wasn't going to be an easy task. Surrounded by flesh-eating plantation, tribal warriors, and airborne hostility, there was nowhere I was going to feel safe on this tropical island. While stranded on the island, I set myself 3 goals. My first goal is to set up base and construct a giant ship with storage to explore these tropical lands. Second goal, craft the grappling hook and get my hands on some top tier loot to take on the tribal leader. If I am successful, I will be able to free the island's people. And so there it is. I'm going to attempt to survive 100 days on a tropical island in hardcore Minecraft. Can I achieve my 3 goals? My name's the Coffee Fuel Genius. Let's find out. Day 1. We start our journey not too far from the giant tropical island. Let's get to work.
Eesh, it's absolutely boiling out here. The ocean looks amazing. A tree. Great. And get some wood.
And so I did just that. In the blazing heat, I punched the tree until I'd collected all of its wood. I then took a look around at the surroundings, then made my way to the center of the island to make a crafting table, so I could craft all of the basic tools I would need. I then heard a strange sound erupting from behind me, and it was a small axolotl asking me for help. His island had been taken over by tribal warriors, so I promised I would do it. I constructed a boat and headed out to seas. It's time to find the island. Oh no! A tiger shark! It was on my tail! This could destroy my boat in seconds! He was getting closer. He knocked me off! Oh no! I read that if you boot them on the nose, they'll swim away! But he was doing serious amounts of damage! It wasn't working! I'd have to swim away! Oh, I made it to the boat. I paddled away as quick as possible to get away from the tiger shark. Oh, I think I was clear. Whew, that was a close one. After escaping the shark, I knew I was close. The axolotls were bouncing in excitement, and what I found next was mesmerizing.
Whoa, what is this place?
Yo, this is incredible! We finally made it. This place was beautiful. I approached the shore and was met with a gathering of axolotls and their leader.
You there, boy. We Axo crew used to rule these lands. Now the enemy tribe have taken over. Will you help us?
My mission was clear. Defeat the enemy tribe and help the axolotls claim back their land. It was time to get resource collecting. I grabbed wood, cocoa beans, and made myself a sword so I could head out and grab some food. But it wasn't an easy task. Flesh-eating plantation were vicious, and they could take my life at any second. I managed to get my hands on one more sheep, but the sun was setting, so I headed back. There was no escaping the island. The sharks were back. But then we were ambushed by a bunch of tribe members. Uh-oh, I sprinted away as fast as possible, but they were chasing after me. They even started firing poison darts. Whew, I can't believe I dodged it. There was no way out. I had to head down. Oh no, he hit me. It could all end here. Ah, okay, I've blocked the entrance. I can hear them. It was time to set up a small base underground and cook up the food. This tropical island is extremely dangerous. I headed deep underground to grab myself some ores. I crafted a torch so I could finally see what I was doing and then carried on. It was time to make some serious progress. I headed even deeper and grabbed myself an assortment of ores, coal and iron. Just what I need. I finally crafted a stone pickaxe as well. After I was finished mining, I grabbed the furnace and headed up. Safety. I then spoke with the Axo tribe leader, and just before he could tell me where the enemy tribe leader would be, I was ambushed. Once again, I was being chased down by the enemy. I ran deep into the jungle, winding in and out of the trees to create some distance. This guy is fast. With nowhere left to turn, we had no choice but to face each other. Oh, we both hit each other. I had to sprint away. Oh, the flesh-eating plants. Oh god, this could be it. Wait. Oh, the plant got him. Yes. It was time to get out of here. I began sprinting home as fast as possible, but then I quickly got lost in the jungle, surrounded by palm trees, no idea where to go. I had to think strategically, but then the flesh-eating plantation was too much for me. They took too much damage. I had to be careful. Another one! I gotta get out of here. Oh no! Oh. After escaping the jungle, I found a cave. I guess I'd have to explore this later. In the meantime, I needed food and I needed it fast, so I killed a bunch of sheep, made myself a furnace, and got cooking. Whew, those plants are deadly. Sure, I'm glad to get some food. Ah, more sharks, just what I need. I finally made it home, planted down my furnace, took a look at the beautiful view, then I made a bed, took a look at the dangerous mobs, and got a good night's rest. No time to mess around. The next morning, I made myself a stone spear, headed into the tropical ocean to grab myself some food. Look how big this spear is. I can finally take out these horrible plants. Yeah. Take that. I then headed into the ocean and started killing fish. It was the only liable food source I had on this tropical island, but then I was attacked by piranhas. It was havoc. There really is no place that's safe on this island. I tried to escape, but then ended up blinded by a jellyfish. I couldn't see a thing, and then finally when my vision came to, I saw the shore. I tried to get there as fast as possible. Half a heart! Oh, that was a close one. Thankfully, I have enough food to keep me going. Now it was time to smelt up my ores and start resource collection. I wanted to finally set up camp on this tropical island, so I headed out grabbing stone, wood, and sand. I then watched the sun go down, and yep, you guessed it, got to work building. Considering the limitations of the island, I was really happy with the final result. I then did a bit of underwater building to make it look a little bit more realistic, and then finished off adding a couple of campfires. Pretty good job if you ask me. I then started working on the interior, adding all the things I would need, and then planted a little chest, because this is where I could do a bunch of fishing. I then planned out the area in which I would build my giant ship, but I was nowhere near ready for that just yet. I would need a lot more resources, and I wanted to craft a bunch more weapons before I'm comfortable setting sail. Solid progress. I spent the night prepping for a gear hunt. Yes, I made an iron pickaxe, a chest plate, and a bunch of weapons so I could go out and finally get those resources. Let's head out. I would need a bunch of string to make the sails for my ship, so I killed a bunch of spiders. I then ran into a group of slimes, and I need plenty of slime to make the boat, so I got to work slaughtering these guys. You know, I've never really thought about it, but slimes are kind of cute. I wonder if these guys like coffee. Oh, I should go and make some coffee and bring it back to them. Yeah, good idea. Things turned south pretty quickly. I stumbled across a group of tribal members. Oh no! They spotted me! This was way too many to handle. Their poison darts and their speed, it was just too much for me to take on. I ran and ran down the hill, but they were getting closer and closer. Oh no! Oh, I fell. It could all end here. This hill was extremely steep, and with every fall, I lost hearts. Oh. I felt a little safer knowing that I lost the tribal crew. It was now time to continue exploring. I then discovered something incredible. A giant volcano. This thing was colossal. It was definitely the home of the tribal leader. I wasn't ready to fight him just yet, so I headed deep into the giant cave and started mining up ores. You know how much I love ore collection on this channel, so I got to work and finally found some diamonds. Yes, I mined up as much diamond as I could. I was feeling ecstatic. I needed these resources to craft the grappling hook so I could scale the volcano and fight the tribal leader. I guess my time here was done. It was now time to head home. I was feeling extremely vulnerable. The weather conditions were horrific, and there was enemies everywhere I turned. I had to think very strategically about my next moves. I was in the heart of the tropical island and I was finding food and wool, just the things I need. I ran home as fast as possible. I didn't want to lose the wonderful loot that I had. Oh, we did it. The next day was beautiful and I finally crafted a full set of diamond armor, just what I needed. Look at this. After an extremely busy few days, I finally grabbed some sleep and then got to work making progress on my giant ship. I finally made a sail. This was huge progress. I put it all in the chest.
Hey up, mate. The tribe's come back. I'll warn the others.
My little axolotl friend was right. An invasion. The tribe had hunted where I lived. It was time to face them. There was a lot, but I had no choice but to battle. I tried to create some space between myself and the tribal warriors, but their poison darts were just too much. I didn't know what to do. I was using my diamond spear to keep them at bay, but there was like 10, 15 of these guys. There was just so many. I would do everything in my power to stay alive. I wasn't losing this world now. The warriors' bone clubs were brutal in their damage. I had to sprint away. The diamond spear wasn't enough to take on these guys, so I switched to my dagger. I swiped and slashed at these guys, causing some serious damage, but it all got too much. I could lose my life. Their brutality forced me into shelter to recalculate my next tactics. I ate up some food, headed out, and started taking on the warriors. 1, 2, 3. I finally slaughtered the group and defended my home, and in the process, managed to get my hands on their masks. This way I could disguise myself and head into the tribal leader's lair undercover. It was a close call, but with genius tactics, I managed to defend my home and fight off the ambush. The next day, I decided to build the docks for my giant ship. I just want to take the time to thank each and every single one of you watching my videos. Without you, I'd be alone on these adventures. With the construction of the docks finished, I finally crafted my ship. With plenty of storage, it was finally time to explore the seas surrounding this tropical island. Let's go! But before we leave, I made myself a diamond fishing rod and checked out the storage. I was so excited to finally explore the world. I got comfortable, opened up the sails, and enjoyed the fresh air. It was absolutely incredible. Whilst on my voyage, I came across a small structure, so I opened the sails slightly and headed over. But it was dangerous! This must be the work of the tribal leader. They were under some sort of hypnotic trance. They were attacking me. I took them out. The dogs in here seemed to be okay, but I would need to clear the area first before I could check on them. I spent all night taking on these hypnotized foes. No time to explore the caves. I waited until morning and broke through the small structure. It was Rex! He's a little scruffy, but I got you, buddy. I saved Rex's life. When my ship crashed, I never thought I'd see him again. I headed back to my boat. I headed out and got to work fishing. It was nice to enjoy the beautiful crisp air. Every adventurer deserves a little bit of time off. But not for long. While the sun was setting, I noticed a shipwreck beneath the water's surface, and all of its crew members were zombified. They must be guarding something crucial. I swam close to the shipwreck and had a look inside. A Neptunium shipment! No wonder these guys were trying to stop me from getting there. I finally made it home, headed in and used the Neptunium to craft full Neptunian armor. Look at this! This gives me night vision and swiftness in the water. I felt unstoppable. And then this goose had something to say. Oh, okay. I then realized that I would need redstone if I was to construct the grappling hook, but before I go ahead and get that, I wanted to make an extension to my base. I added the last finishing touches to a small tower. Now, it wasn't the coolest thing you've ever seen, but it was to allow me to look over my area, just in case I get ambushed by the tribe again. Also, the view was kinda neat. Time to go cave exploring. I grabbed my Neptunium weaponry and headed in. If you're a fan of the channel, you know how much I really love ore collection. I do love to go mining in these caves. Also, they're really beautiful and great to look at, so... But then I let my guard down. I was set ablaze. I was on fire. I had to find a water source quickly. I ran as fast as possible. Oh, that was so close, but it wasn't over. Creepers left, right, and center. Almost lost my life. Once I got my bearings, I finally came across some redstone. Just what I needed. I collected it and then started making my way home. But then something crazy happened. Look at this. This colossal creature was incredible. It tossed and turned through the air. Its giant wings echoed throughout the caves with every swoosh. It dealt some extreme damage and then prepared to fire a giant poison blast towards me. This could be it. I could lose my life. I had to run away as fast as possible, but it was following me. I was encased in the creature's acidic throat gunk. I was losing health very quickly. One heart. I'm gonna lose my life. Oh no. I ran away and managed to lose its tail. I guess I'd have to come back and fight this beast and not waste any time. I started sprinting home as fast as possible. I wanted to come back and slay this creature. I trudged through sand, made it home, and finally crafted the grappling hook. This was a huge and crucial moment. I then crafted the Neptunium bow. It was time to find and slay the monster. I took a look at my base and then headed back into the caves. There was no way I could face the tribal leader knowing this beast would still be alive, so I faced him head on. Its screams were piercing and echoed throughout the cave. I used the water to get some height. I began firing my bow shots, dealing small damage. I then used a grappling hook to scale the ceiling of the cave. Feeling more versatile and more tactical than ever before, I carried on firing my bow shots. This giant bird was intelligent. It was maintaining its distance. Its piercing eyes and blade-like teeth were incredibly intimidating. I decided to head down using a water bucket. Yes, MLG clutch. Now it's time to face this beast. I fired my bow shots over and over. Incredible. Its thick scales deflected the arrow shot. I had to carry on. I had no choice. I headed for the water to try and get height again. It span at me, tossing and turning. But then using the water, I managed to fire the bow shots, pushing it back into the lava. I had slayed this beast once and for all. We did it. I headed home once again and then improved my grappling hook. It was now time to head out and face the tribal leader. It was going to be a long journey, so I told Rex to stay put. It was too dangerous for him. Over mountains and into jungles, I finally stumbled across the volcano. I was nervous. I could see a soul lantern. He was definitely in there. I used my grappling hook to scale the rim of the cave. I had no choice but to be strategic. One wrong move, and I could fall and lose everything. I finally made it to the bottom and then made it towards the volcano and began scaling my way up. I was nervous for what was to come. I was worried that my tribal mask wouldn't be enough of a disguise to keep the tribal leader from knowing who I am. It was time to head in. Look at this place. Not as many tribal warriors as I thought. I guess I'd been doing a good job. It worked. He really had no idea that I was right in front of him. This was my moment. I had to strike. This was it. This was my moment to free the axolotls and allow them to reclaim their island. The battle commenced. I began circling around, taking out the other tribe members and getting some height using my grappling hook. I did a little bit of damage, but he was using the sun to burn me. He was incredibly powerful and I had to act quickly. I couldn't stay in the same spot for more than a second or I'd be burned alive. Not many hearts left. I had to pick my bow shots crucially and dodge the tribal warriors. An opening. I fired my bow shots, but then he channeled the sun's energy and started firing at me. This guy was incredible, but then his minions started healing him up. I quickly changed my mask, granting me health boost, and then headed back in to fight the tribal leader once more. He was spawning more tribal warriors, and then channeled the sun once again. This was going to be impossible. I had no choice but to fight the warriors that were healing him up. That way, it would leave him vulnerable. After taking out these conjurers of health, I headed back in to finally destroy the tribal leader. I did it! Wow. He dropped his mask. I picked it up to see what it would do, and it turns out I can deploy my own tribal army. These guys would help me. Look at this, he was healing me up. This would be incredible for 200 days. Look at this, I felt insane. With the leader eliminated once and for all, I headed back home to tell the leader of the Axo tribe the great news. He was just as thrilled as I was and thanked me for my hard work over the 100 days. Wow, what a journey we've been on. I can't believe I have my own tribal army. Wow, we achieved my 3 goals and freed the island. The war between kingdoms rages on, and I remain imprisoned. But all of this changes today. Today is the day I've been planning for the last 5 years. It was time to escape this castle and face the open world. I'm going to attempt to survive 100 days in medieval Minecraft, with new places to explore, new enemies to take on, fantastical beasts to face. Will I be able to attain the best armor in the game, to tackle those dungeons and take out the trolls? Let's find out. Our first day, but I wasn't free just yet. They'd already sent a search party after me. I had to get out of here as soon as possible, otherwise it could all end here. I traversed through thick green foliage and beautiful wildlife. It was great to breathe in the fresh air. I then got on with the basics, collecting wood, but then I came across some trouble. It seemed there was a giant. This thing was massive. I tried to creep up on him. I didn't know whether these guys were hostile or not, but I could see sheep and I needed food. But then, he noticed me and started chasing after me. I ran away as fast as possible. He was so close. My survival instincts kicked in. I took a leap. I'd made it and sprinted away from the giant. Whew. That was a close one. After escaping the fierce giant, I then stumbled across a small hut. I headed in to see if anyone was home, but it seemed abandoned. But there was a fresh pie left. I had to eat it. I was too hungry. I then headed upstairs. A place to stay, and a chest full of incredible loot. This was just what I needed. Some great progress made in just one day. I looked out the window and could see it was sunset, so I got a good night's rest. It seemed I was going to face some extreme dangers on our medieval fantastical journey. This was only the beginning. Fresh-faced and bright-eyed, day 2 was here. I snatched up the loot and then equipped these trousers. Like how snazzy I look. I then decided to take the bed with me and head downstairs. It seemed to just go on forever and ever. Things got real dark real quickly. This place was haunting. I chewed my way through the iron bars, had a look around, but then I was attacked by a spider. I was so on edge. I then noticed I could see a troll, but then he noticed me. His roar echoed throughout the dungeon. I had to get out of here as soon as possible. That was a close one. Whew, it's time to keep moving. I headed out into the wild and came across this giant castle-like structure filled with soldiers, and also this tower surrounded by these magical flowers. But then I heard something. It was an evoker summoning Vexes. I sprinted out of there as soon as possible, heading over hills. But then I witnessed something absolutely beautiful. A real-life Pegasus. Look at this thing. It was absolutely magnificent. I then stumbled across a medieval-like structure, so I headed down. But then I was ambushed by a group of zombies, so I had to strike them one by one, chopping them up into pieces. I then headed out. The Pegasus was even following me. This was strange. I decided to get some sleep. The next day, I headed into the vast medieval plains, hoping I'd find civilization. But I was so very wrong. This, my friends, was a Deathbringer camp. They were screeching and roaring at me. I had walked into their territory and I had to get out as soon as possible. I sprinted into the woodlands, but a dragon's nest was nearby. I didn't know what to do. I just ran away. He was screaming at me. I was panicking. The only way out of this was down. I had to head into the caves. He was following me. I thought I was going to lose my life. I decided to head deeper and deeper down, hoping I'd find some ores. After an extremely intense few days, I enjoyed the downtime mining. I found a bunch of iron, redstone, blue lapis, loads of everything. I was feeling so good. I then stumbled across some diamonds. I couldn't believe it. These things are my most favorite thing in the whole wide world. I then headed back. I thought the best thing to do was just to dig straight up, away from the dragon. After traversing the medieval world for a good few days, I finally stumbled across something that would change the fate of our future. A village. Finally. This was just what I needed, a safe haven. I decided to take some time to get to know the locals, and they welcomed me with open arms. The town leader even let me stay for as long as I liked. I looked up at the starry night and got some rest. Wow. But we had no time to waste. We had to keep on moving. I used the temporary home to store my inventory. Look at us go. It was time to get the ball rolling. I surveyed the area and I found a bunch of structures that I would explore later on. This was great. I then decided to explore the town a little more, and I found a chest filled with a bunch of amazing loot, even some obsidian. I then collected a bunch of resources, stone, dark wood. I even made a chisel so I could make some really beautiful blocks. I then headed out to find a spot I would build, yep, you guessed it, my new home. The structure was complete, and I have to say, I was pretty impressed with myself. I'm getting better at this whole building thing, you know. I decided to really go for the medieval feel with those glass panes. I took a look at the sun blazing in the sky and decided to add some furnishing, tables, chairs here and there, and then I took a seat to enjoy my new home. I then utilized the diamond and ore I collected earlier to craft some weaponry and a little bit of armor to keep me protected against the dangers in this medieval world. Oh, also, I completely forgot. Before I started building my house, this, hawk thing was, firing its spikes at me and doing some serious damage. So I took some time to take this bad boy out, collected his feathers, and made myself a legendary weapon. How cool is this? This was the fastest sword ever. I then collected a bunch of food because things were about to get serious. Before I could tackle this tower, I need to be more prepared. So I headed down and dug for more ores, but then I stumbled across a dungeon. Yes, our second dungeon so far, but I was feeling a little bit more prepared. I wonder what danger awaits. I could hear the screeches from the undead soldiers crawling towards me. I struck down the first rotten beast, but they just kept coming. They were fully armored. I used all of my power, and another one down. But another wave of undead soldiers. Their thick armor was incredibly difficult to penetrate, but with perseverance and determination, I managed to strike them both down. It was time to progress. I headed deeper into the dungeon, taking on enemies. One zombie down, and then another zombie down. But then things got serious. My life was almost taken, down to just 2.5 hearts. I had to run away. I was being stalked by a zombie pillager. Oh, those baby zombies can end everything. A close call, but I had to keep moving. I headed deeper into this devilish dungeon. I found this room that was radiating heat, but I was ambushed by a bunch of spiders. But with a little bit of dodging and a little bit of sword work, I took them both out. I blocked off the wall, and I started mining for resources and XP. There was even a bunch of obsidian in here, so I decided to take advantage of the time and the safety and get as much obsidian as possible, because I'd need to head into the nether at some point. 11 obsidian. Great progress. It was time to keep on mining. I mined for days and days. I wanted more diamonds. I needed those diamonds. And by the end of it, well, I had a bunch, and I was feeling incredibly great. Look at this. It was time to head back as soon as possible. I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and finally made it back home. And I crafted myself a full set of diamond armor. The helmet looks kind of weird, though. After getting some sleep, I headed the next day to breed some cows together because I need more leather to make the enchantment table. Yep, I planted some sugar canes too, but in the meantime, I headed over to that tower. Fully lathered up in diamond armor, I was feeling more prepared. It was time to scale this beast. I started to accept the fact if I fell, it would all be over. I was successfully scaling this momentous structure. It was incredible. I then witnessed a view. The view was absolutely breathtaking. You see that giant down there? Wow. That castle was also filled with soldiers that I'd have to tackle later. I then finally made it to the top. I wondered what would await me. Would it be an enemy? Nope. It was a wizard, a very friendly wizard that was trapped up here, and he's been here for years. He gave me some spell books, even his hat. We chilled for a little while, had a conversation, and then I got a good night's rest. The next day, I thanked him for his time and jumped off this huge structure. Wow. Some incredible progress. Ah, look at that giant. I'll be back for you, buddy. I then planted the brewing stand that the wizard had given me. I wanted to keep the momentum, so I decided to make a start on the enchantment table. I just didn't have enough resources at this point, so I headed out to breed my cows together and then plant some sugar canes. They were like little incremental things, but they make a big difference. I then spent the night killing zombies, and then I grabbed a good night's rest and waited for the sugar canes to grow. Big things were coming, but I just wasn't quite prepared. I had to work harder, so I dedicated the next few days solely to my cows and the sugar canes. And by the end, I had a bunch of resources. I also felt kind of bad, because look at this, I had to like slaughter all of the cows I dedicated so much time to. But they didn't die for no reason, so we can just sleep easy knowing that, eh? I then spent the next few days making paper, making a bunch of books, collected a bunch of wood so then I could craft bookshelves, and yep, you guessed it, I finally made the enchantment table, planted a bunch of bookcases, and leveled that bad boy up. I even enchanted my boots with feather falling, but I needed more XP. And well, for that, you guessed it, we're heading to the nether. So I grabbed some flint, grabbed the obsidian, and crafted the nether portal. I built the portal as fast as possible. That ender dragon fight was just around the corner. Using my flint and steel, I sparked up the portal. This was it. It could all end here. But I headed in anyway, to face the dangers of the nether. This place was radiating heat, but I couldn't believe it. I was the luckiest person on Earth. My nether portal spawn was underneath a nether fortress. I took full advantage of this. I protected my nether portal with cobblestone and then headed out mining those quartz for that XP. I even killed a bunch of endermen for ender pearls. And I mean, I killed a lot of endermen. I needed those pearls to get to the ender dragon. I then spent some more time collecting quartz and then headed to the nether fortress. Upon entry, I struck down a wither skeleton. I was feeling like a beast. But then I was attacked by a blaze, and these things lit me up in fire, my skin scorching. These blazes were no joke. In groups, they could take you out in a matter of seconds. I headed deeper into the fortress, striking down the blazes. I had to work quickly. My first blaze rod. Great work. I dedicated days to fighting the blazes. I stalked that blaze spawner, and as they appeared, I strike them down, collecting those blaze rods. But I got a little bit too overwhelmed. It was time to get out of here. So I sprinted away, deeper into the nether. I couldn't believe it. We had made some serious progress, but now it was time to head home. I made it back safely to my nether portal. I took one last look at the hell, and then headed back to the overworld. It was time to enchant all of my weapons in armor. We finally did it. I was feeling OP. The dragon was just around the corner, however, I had one more thing to do. It was time to face the giant. I couldn't sleep easy knowing my villagers were terrified of the giant nearby, so I repaired my shield and headed over to face this beast. Once located, I created some elevation and then fired my first bow shot. My first shot made contact, and he was furious. I missed my second shot, so I decided to close the distance. But I think it was a bad decision. He headed towards me. I didn't know what to do. I ran away. His colossal stature was incredibly intimidating, and also, even despite his size, he was incredibly fast. He closed the space. I didn't know what to do, so I held my shield up, taking the blows of his hits. But then he picked me up. I held my shield, but he broke it. I didn't know what to do. I ran away with just half health, taking and picking my shots with my bow. He chased me out into the open fields. I had to pick my shots, I had to strike him with my bow, but he wouldn't let up. I just kept moving, I kept striking. Oh no! My last few shots Could I do it? Could I do it? Could I beat him? Yes! I had defeated the giant! Wow. We'd done it, ladies and gentlemen. I headed home and crafted another shield. But the fight wasn't over. I grabbed myself some wheat, headed out into the plains, and grabbed myself a trusty steed. With this companion, I'd be unstoppable. Once we bonded, I applied some gold armor. Look how badass he looks. Wow, we were making some serious progress, and the Ender Dragon was so close. I headed home. I let my steed sleep in the house, because, well, he's just a chill dude, and I didn't see any problem with it, okay? Before the Ender Dragon fight, I had one last job, and that was to get revenge on those that had taken me prisoner. So I found their hideout, told my trusty steed to await, and headed in. I surveyed the area and made my way to the front, but it was a mistake. An entire army chased me and almost took my life. I couldn't believe I was so stupid. I ran away and headed home and came back a few days later, more prepared. I decided to take a distant approach, picking my bow shots and taking them out one by one. I felt like Rambo, hiding in the trees, taking their lives. I picked my bow shots and I was incredibly accurate. One soldier thought he could take me on, and well, he picked the wrong guy. I was furious that they had captured me, so I decided to strike him down. No mercy. I then continued to the tower. I found the captain. Boom, I took the captain out and the bow and arrow guard, splitting him into pieces. But once again, I made a mistake. A whole group of them were waiting for me at the top. I had to jump down. I had to get out of there. I created some distance between us. I just couldn't believe I couldn't get revenge. I needed the information of where the main base was, but I guess I wouldn't be accomplishing that in this 100 days. Maybe it was something I would return to in 200 days. I watched the sun set, because tomorrow was a big day. It was time to face the Ender Dragon, so I brewed up all of my potions using the Blaze Powder and Netherwort. I made Strength 2 potions and then crafted all of the Eye of Enders I would need. I then took one last look at my house, a walk around the village. I thanked the townskeeper for allowing me to stay. I hoped I would return, but you never know, it could all end here. I threw my first Eye of Ender high into the sky. It was time to head out and find the stronghold. It took me days and days traversing through extremely dangerous environments. I made it to a vantage point and surveyed the area, and look at this, a giant castle and a fierce dragon high in the sky. I threw my second Eye of Ender, heading deeper into the world. I even came across a wizard, and he told me the direction in which to go. I finally found the location in which the Eye of Enders were pointing to. I dug down, came across that mossy cobblestone, and found the stronghold. I took out a few zombies and then located the portal. I took out the spawner. Oh, I was nervous. I placed the Eye of Enders, covered up the lava in between. The last few. This was it, the moment I faced the dragon. I headed in. Oh, so many Endermen. I took out the first crystal with my bow. However, the Endermen delayed my progress. A bunch of them were attacking me. The dragon was furious that I was destroying all of her healing crystals, but I continued striking them down, taking away her ability to regenerate. I then headed down, slurped up my Strength 2 potion and began attacking her, but her giant wingspan swooped me up into the air. Oh, this could be it, I could lose my life. Oh, an MLG clutch, I couldn't believe it. I then continued striking her down, dodging her dragon balls, and finally taking her life, freeing the end. We did it! I collected all of the XP, and then I collected her dragon egg. Wow, some serious progress made. I'd done it. I then headed back home, planted the egg on the table, and chilled out for a bit. Wow, we'd accomplished so much in 100 days. I shut my 2 front doors and got a good night's rest. We'd done it, ladies and gentlemen. We'd finished our 100 days in medieval Minecraft.
Imagine being sent back in time to ancient Egypt, with new places to explore, OP loot to find, and new enemies to take on. This is our most exciting journey yet. I will need to uncover the pyramid secrets and defeat the ancient pharaoh, so I can get my hands on their powerful abilities. I also want to construct a giant desert base to stay protected from the barbarian warlord and his people. Can I complete my goals? My name's the Coffee Fuel Genius, and this is 100 Days in Ancient Egypt. Will I survive? Let's find out. Day 1 was pretty intense. Barbarians had already spotted me and started firing their arrows. I quickly dodged them and then tried to escape, but they were closing in. I thought I found a way out, but the drop was just too steep, and I didn't want to take any risks. I sprinted as fast as possible over the sandy dune until I came across a pack of hostile wolves. Now these guys were relentless. It started chasing me and I had no choice but to run. Its speed was impeccable and it almost caught up with me, but I quickly created distance using elevation, climbing up the hill to hopefully lose this relentless wolf. It worked. The wolf couldn't make the jump, so I ran away. My legs were aching, and I underestimated just how difficult this journey might be, but I had to carry on. I chopped down some wood and then made a full set of basic tools. Whilst I was chopping down a tree, I was ambushed by a giant scorpion. He was colossal in size and did a crazy amount of damage. 2 hearts. Oh no, I had to run. Barbarians! I had nowhere to turn. I needed food fast. I tried to get my hands on this rabbit. They were just so fast. 1 down, and then I got another one. Wait, it didn't even drop anything, now I just feel bad. A pack of hostile wolves and even more barbarians were closing in. I had to create some distance and use this time to grab some more food, and then started mining up limestone. I don't know why though, because I don't know what it does. So in the meantime, I had to cozy up inside a cave. I lit it up with torches, put down a crafting table, and then I realized you use it like stone, so I made myself a furnace, put coal inside, and started cooking up all that rabbit and quail. It's so succulent. Peace didn't last very long though, as I spotted a barbarian, and I made the worst cover you've ever seen, but somehow it worked. They didn't spot me. Oh, guess I'm here for the night. I grabbed some more limestone, then upgraded my wooden tools. I was surrounded by enemies and they were just too powerful to take on. Sunrise was here and I decided to brave it and abandon my small cave. I ran out into the vast Egyptian world and did some exploring. I even came across a small mob spawner and grabbed some XP. But then I noticed more barbarians, so I went and grabbed myself some more food, wood, and then I found this small structure. I decided to mine it up because I might use the blocks later for a build. But then I was ambushed by bandits. Look at these guys. They wanted my valuables, but they weren't getting them. I decided to take them on, fighting them with my limestone sword. I tactically picked my hits, but then I still had the archer to take on. Feeling intimidated, I tried to escape, but then I started taking some serious damage. Oh no, 2.5 hearts. I dodged the arrow shots, made a small obstruction, then ran away. I think I lost them. That was way too close, and with just 2.5 hearts, I had to act quickly, so I spent my night killing camels for food. But it was getting too dangerous, so I headed underground to cook all of my food Gordon Ramsay style, then I headed down and did some strip mining. I then discovered this beautiful dark block that I would use for builds later, so I mined all of it up. I headed deeper and deeper until eventually I found a cave. I then came across some obsidian, which is pretty rare in Egypt, so I'll be coming back here later. And then after some exploring, I came across a stone guard. Now these guys look friendly, but after bashing his head over with a limestone sword, he did some serious damage. With just half a heart left, I thought it could end here. In hardcore Minecraft, I would lose everything. So I sprinted away as fast as possible, blocked myself in, checked out the area, and then I chewed on some camel to restore my health. I then headed back to take on this fiend. These guys are really durable and take a lot of damage, but with a lot of persistence, I finally took him out. I then came across some iron, mined some more and found redstone, but then the cave started shaking and a whole army of stone guards were coming my way, so I had no choice but to block them in and start returning to the surface. I'll come back here later. Once I made it to the top, I took a good look around and amongst burning foes there was a deadwood forest. In this forest there was wood for miles, so I took advantage and started chopping down trees left, right and center. Wood chopping didn't last very long though, as I was ambushed by a captain. The barbarian warlord must have sent him to take me out, but I was just too quick and eventually took him down. But it wasn't over. I looked into the distance and spotted an assassin. I was marked for death. I quickly started building up to create elevation and distance between us both, but then something unimaginable happened. The assassin can climb! I started to panic. I didn't know what to do. I quickly built an area, but then I slipped and fell off. Oh no! Poison! And with just half a heart remaining, I had no choice but to turn and run. I sprinted as fast as I could, started building up and chewed on some food, and then... He doesn't do anything. Once I no longer feared the assassin, I started to strike, dodging his hits and finally eliminating him. Can I not just get a break? I set up camp and then finally crafted myself a shield and battled barbarians most of the evening, but then the sun fell and the undead rose. I was fighting mummies, wraiths, and even bone storms most of the night. Then I spotted a village and decided to risk it. I ran as fast as I could through the undead. I was so scared I would lose my life here. I ran and I ran through camels, bone storms, and mummies in hopes that I would make it out alive. Wooden flooring replaced the cold sand on my feet. I finally made it to safety. I looked out and saw a ruin that I would explore the next day, but it was too risky now. The undead was surrounding me overnight. The cool, sandy breeze brushed against my skin, but peace and tranquility didn't last long as the village was being attacked. More barbarians, and with just a limestone sword, I have to be tactical. 2 hearts! Oh no, I'd have to use my shield. I dodged the arrows and finally eliminated them, saving the town from this ambush. I was awarded Lawbringer, and the villagers thanked me for saving them and allowed me to stay. The Egyptians traded in golden coins, and so I took to a small well and started cleaning off all the dirty coins I found earlier. But then this strange topless man started approaching me. No thank you. I then almost lost my life with just half a heart, and whilst I was escaping, I was still being followed by this weird dude. I then took out the rest of the ambush, then did some Emma collection, planted some seeds, and then an Egyptian started telling me about a nearby pyramid and also a ruin. This is where I would go tomorrow, so I got a good night's rest. Some great progress made, but I had to keep moving forward. I ate some food and headed towards the ruins. I explored all of their boxes. Nebu torches! I can use these to summon the ancient pharaohs. I then tried to carry on raiding the ruin, but it got a little bit too much, so I headed back and waited for the other ambush to calm down. Whew, close one. I sorted out my inventory, got some sleep, and then headed back to the ruin the next day. I got a little bit more successful in the looting side of things, getting things like camel armor and saddles, but enemies were closing in, so I had to hurry up. I even came across a map, which allowed me to look around, but peace didn't last long. A bunch of barbarians were closing in. There was no way I was going to succeed in this barbarian battle, so I had to take a step back and think tactically about my next moves. I decided to close in, taking them out one by one, using the sword I found inside the ruin. The barbarians were infuriated and started rushing me, but I was just too smart and managed to take them all out. I even picked up one of their shields, which is super OP. I then finally took out the spawner, destroying one of the warlord's bases. I then collected a bunch more food and then took a look at the map so I could see what was around me. I grabbed the cooked food and then headed back to the village and got a good night's rest. I then spent the next day cleaning all of the jewelry I found. Once everything was gleaming, I realized I could actually wear this stuff, so I was looking pretty fresh in all this Egyptian jewelry. I then thought it was about time I tame a camel. So I used the dates I'd collected from earlier, fed the camel, and finally tamed a new best friend. I then placed the saddle and diamond desert armor upon my new friend and then took to looking at the map. It was time to head out. I could see an oasis at the top of the map, so that was the way I would go. I traveled through many different biomes and finally made it. Wow, this place is beautiful. This place was breathtakingly beautiful. I just couldn't believe my eyes. The villagers were running around and were happy to greet me. I've never felt more at home. This is the place I would stay. I then found a safe place to leave my camel, and then I stole this small human being's leather and also his bed. What? I'm trying to survive out here, okay? The sun kissed my skin and a new day was upon us. But first, a wonderful cool dip with the fish. I then headed out past the dead mirage into the sandy dunes and started limestone collection. Yep, I collected a bunch of resources because here is where I would build my base. I decided to do a bunch of terraforming. I went through a bunch of shovels, leveling out the land because this is where I would build my giant base. I planted a bunch of flax seeds and then checked on my camel, headed back to the area, planned it all out, and yep, you guessed it, got to work building. I reinforced all 4 walls with pathways and then started working on a small build on the inside. I decided to use a sort of orange crystal glass alongside the orange Egyptian wool. I then joined everything up with paths and then placed lanterns pretty much everywhere. Then I did the usual storage, beds, you know, all the typical stuff. We'd achieved so much in just a short amount of time, but the next step was to start working on a farm.
Good morning to me. I'm happy with the progress so far. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I have a lot more to do, and the walls look pretty cool. And I mean, I have a lot planned. I kind of want to work on a farm area over here or something. I made some fertile soil. Let's see if this works. Let me just. Okay, so then all I need to do is just put more of this next to it, and I can hoe it down. Okay, sweet. Let me go make some more. Hang on. I was worried that if it wasn't near water, it wouldn't work. But let me just go make some more. Just make a small area here. Now this should spread out everywhere. I'm hoping so. Anyway, if it doesn't, I'm gonna be upset. Oh. This is annoying. I need to go get some water. I need to see if I have enough iron. I think I used all my iron up for the lanterns. No iron. I just have cracked limestone. I'm literally like so tired of mining limestone. I cannot tell you. Okay, so I need a bucket so I can then start moving the water over. Because as cool as this is, I kind of want to put the farm in my base as well. That means I'm going to have to go get some iron, which means mining trip. Woohoo! Before I went mining though, I grabbed some flax and turned it into linen. I then checked out how good my base was working, keeping the barbarians away from me. I then used the bolts of linen cloth to make full wandering armor, which was pretty good. I'd needed to go mining with. You know what time it is. If you're a fan of the channel, you know how much I love my strip mining. I got to work collecting that crispy XP, then I came across this weird soily stuff, which actually turns out I can make my own Stone Guard army. That's awesome, so when I get back, I'll get to work on that. But in the meantime, it's time to carry on mining. Mining. It's my favorite thing. Wait a second. Diamonds! Oh, diamonds are my most favorite thing in the world. There's nothing that tops diamonds in this game, I swear. Gimme. I mined as many diamonds as I possibly could. I went searching and searching, and then I grabbed other things like coal, iron, redstone, all the usual things, and then I returned home. I then smelted up all of my iron, and then, yep, you guessed it, combined my diamond armor with my desert armor and made a full set of desert diamond armor. I said armor and desert so many times there. That's remember when I found that weird brown soily stuff? Well, it turns out it's called Canumite, and with that's how you craft the soldiers. Look at this, my own stone guard. He's just so cool. I gave him my sword and he just patrolled around. This is the most awesome thing ever. I'm gonna have a bunch of these walking around my base. I decided to do a little bit of a test with an ambush, and this guy is relentless. I then used the iron I collected to craft a bucket and then grabbed some water from the oasis and got to work on my small farm area. I got some sleep and then jumped on my bed for a little while I waited for all of the soil to fertilize. And then I headed down into my strip mine to grab some more of that really brown soily stuff so I could work on making an army of stone guards. I assembled my army stone guard by stone guard. They were patrolling, and so I decided to take a little bit of time for myself. I worked on the farm, planted a bunch of emmer, because I wanted to work on an infinite food source. I used this device called a quern, in which you take the emmer and then you spin it. And I mean you really spin it. Like, it took me a whole night. I then used the flour to make dough, which then you cook up to make emmer bread. And then I worked on stairs, some few additions to my base. I then crafted a bunch of this white ceramic tile stuff, which looked really great, so I started working on the bed. Oh no! I was ambushed by giant poisonous scorpions, and they were relentless. Nothing was stopping them, and they trapped me in a corner, doing severe amounts of damage. I tried to escape. The barbarian must have known that my stone guards can't detect the scorpions, so I'd have to face them myself. I took out the first one, and then did all I could to take out the second, losing heart by heart. I chewed up all of my bread and then faced the last one.
That was just way too close, and in hardcore Minecraft, I can't be taking risks like that. I need to be more prepared for the next warlord's ambush. So I spoke with a local Egyptian, and they informed me of a crypt under this town which contained items in which I could use to summon a god. So I headed out, down into my strip mine, and I finally located the crypt. I had to clear the area of these ghoulish monsters. I cleared the area of these devilish crypt keepers and then took a look in the chest. It was amazing. It was filled with a bunch of items and even a necklace in which I could go invisible when I wear it. This was awesome. I decided to take all of the magma blocks, head home past my stone guard army and get some rest. In preparation of the summoning of the god, I built a shrine with a burning flame that pointed towards the sun. I really hoped this would work in summoning the god the Egyptians spoke of. I had to go out and grab some lava and assemble this small shrine. I lit it up, but it didn't seem to work straight away. I couldn't work out why it wasn't working. Was it my offerings? I even tried to damage myself in hopes that it would summon the god, but then I realized I need to put a fire charge down. And with that, it was happening. It was working!
Who dares challenge the god of the sun? You there, boy! You will rain fire upon these Egyptian cities. You will spread hope across these lands. For whoever lets himself be led by heart will never lose his way. Here, take this gift. Destroy the warlord. Success is on your path.
Okay, slightly dramatic and kind of aggressive, but if we skip the Egyptian burning stuff, I'll take it. I walked up to the shrine and noticed he'd left some kind of remnants of obsidian and scorched basalt, so I decided to just leave that there to burn and make a small display because I wasn't worthy of this gift just yet. I would need to be more prepared to take on the warlord, so I made a bunch more food and then grabbed myself a diamond shovel and decided to go on another mining trip with my vanishing necklace. I headed underground and found an Egyptian mineshaft. I took on the stone guards, then powered the goddess of Thelima's necklace and stayed well hidden from all of the foes. I then came across this strange ore. I mined it up and noticed it was called Nebu. Similar to the Nebu torches, I assumed it was to do with the summoning of pharaohs, so I grabbed as much as possible, headed home and started smelting it up. I broke it down into something called Nebu drops, which then makes Nebu ingots, which I combine with a furnace to make a god forge, which is super shiny by the way. I then realized that if I sacrifice my necklace, very sad I know, I can then make god shards, and with god shards I can then make god torches. Whew, that was a lot to explain, but with god torches I can summon whatever pharaoh I like, instead of a random one. So on the topic of pharaohs, I grabbed my camel, stuck some storage on him, and then headed out to try and find a pyramid so I could defeat one. Whilst traveling over sandy dunes, I just want to take the time to thank each and every single one of you for watching my videos. It means the world to me. I finally came across the pyramid. It took a little while to work out, but I realized I need Nebu torches to activate the doors. So with those, I opened up the pyramid, and the undead came flailing. They come running at me, but with the power of the sun, they burned alive.
Okay, they're everywhere, they're everywhere, they're everywhere. Okay, break the spawners, break the spawners. Light these bad boys up. Oh, I don't have to waste my torches. Oh, he's broken.
I took on the undead inside the pyramid and then did a lot of looting. I then found a way down deeper into the pyramid.
Oh, it's like a maze. Ooh. Okay, what is that? What is that? Okay, there are traps. Oh, okay, you right-click them. It turns them off. There's another one.
I navigated the maze-like corridors while surrounded by the screeches of the undead.
I must be getting close. Because all I can hear is zombies. Or mummies. All I can hear is mummies. Yo, I'm not getting anywhere. Ah! This way? No, I'm just going to put the torch in my offhand. So much easier for it. Oh. Okay, I think I found a drop. Okay, I feel like we're getting close. Oh, not good. They give me the wither effect or something. Oh, there's like loads of different rooms. Oh, I found it. Let's go. There is loot. I know that... Jeez!
I had discovered the room in which I summoned the pharaoh. This was it.
No, I'm gonna make myself like a mini... What? You can't even place blocks in here.
The pharaoh was summoned, Pharaoh Yatamesh. I had to take him on with all my power, using my stone club, but he was relentless, breaking my shield in just a few hits.
Trap him in there. Okay.
I then used the gift.
Don't let me down.
Sparks and fire emitted from my body. I was pretty much invincible for a short time, but it didn't last very long, and the pharaoh started doing some serious damage. I managed to catch the pharaoh in an awkward position and start doing some damage with the dagger. But then he wiggled his way out, so I had no choice but to keep tactically running around the pyramid and attacking him from behind. Stealth became my best friend, and I was managing to get some serious shots on the pharaoh. And then with enough perseverance, I finally struck him down and destroyed him. Whew, that was a battle. He dropped a sort of hammer that a mummy was carrying. It was called Jeb's Might, and it did some extreme damage. The pyramid was shattered to pieces. I took a look around and even mined up the sarcophagus that the pharaoh was in. I'll build a shrine for this when I get home. I easily dug my way out of the pyramid and then killed the mobs outside with my new mighty hammer. I bet there are more weapons with abilities out there. I then ran past this camel stuck in a tree and then walked towards the village. I then found this small structure and mined the entire roof of it because I had an idea for a build. I then looted the entire village and then found my camel and headed back home. A serious few days. I made my way back to my base, and then now it was time to make some building improvements. Let's go! I'd finally finished the construction of the shrine, and I would use this sarcophagus as a storage for my weapons with special abilities. Pretty cool. A stone guard army patrolling a giant desert base. I was pretty proud of my progress, I won't lie. Day 71, I did a little bit of fishing because I wanted some me time. I then did some exploring, headed out with Bones, and found this giraffe structure. I headed inside, but what was there to greet me wasn't so kind. It was Rex, but somehow he had been possessed by some kind of evil god, so I had to find a way to lure him out. I managed to get him out and then spam him with my dusty bones, and finally bring him back. Finally, Sandy Boy. We then teamed up to then take on the barbarians. Used my hammer's mighty strength and abilities to then take out the mobs, with some help of Rex also. I remembered I had some desert armor and a saddle at home, so it was time to head back. I looted the sarcophagus and then traveled over the oasis and over sandy dunes with Rex. We finally made it back, and then I gifted one of my stone guards the role of captain. There you go, mate. Cool. I then put down an anvil and had a name tag spare, so I put the name tag on Rex, obviously, along with the desert armor. I can ride this thing, but then we were ambushed by barbarians. Now, I am aware I have said the word barbarian about 50 million times this video, but now I won't be saying it so much because my stone guards have now taken the lead on taking them out. Look at this. I just decided to watch the whole events unfold. These bandits and barbarians will never stand a chance. No one will ever succeed in taking over my base. This is incredible. My Stone Guard army is epic. It's time to take on the Warlord. So I grabbed Rex, and then I grabbed a good night's rest and headed out on my hunt for the Warlord. I'd have to cover miles of land, and I searched through tons of ruins in search for that bandit leader. Whilst looting the ruins, I came across some epic gear. I found Ra's Halo, which is an awesome looking helmet. I then killed the rest of the bandits covering this checkpoint and headed out covering more land. There were a ton of bandits near this ruin, so I was hoping the Warlord would be inside, but I got too overrun. I was surrounded and taking some serious damage. I had no choice but to run. It was too late to lose my life here. I searched for Rex, grabbed his saddle, and got running. I then came across another ruin. It seemed huge. I was hoping this would be it. I took out the mob spawner, and then the Warlord's boss bar appeared, but no sign of him just yet. I took out bandits and looked around the area. I couldn't find him. I looted all of the chests, and I was finding some extremely OP gear. Tefnut's Rain, a bow with special abilities. I decided it was too risky to stay here, so I decided to grab Rex and head home. I would need a bunch more arrows and upgrade my gear if I was to fight the Warlord. I made it back home, sorted out my inventory, grabbed some arrows, and then grabbed some sleep. I then tested out this bow. Turns out, like rain, it multiplies with one arrow. This is going to be extremely useful when taking on the Warlord. I then headed back to the ruin. This was it. There he was! He was mighty, his armor thick steel. It was going to be a task. I started striking him with my mighty hammer, and then Rex started doing some damage. I created some distance and then headed back in, firing bow shots. This Warlord was fierce, and he managed to summon more bandits and barbarians. It got pretty overwhelming. I almost lost my life, so started heading out. It was time to strategize. I eyed up the area, thinking of ways to take out the Warlord. First, I decided it's time to take out his friends, so I worked on taking out all of the archers, captains, and bandits surrounding him. Perseverance became a crucial part of defeating the warlord. Myself and Rex did all we could to take him out, and with one final blow with just 1.5 hearts, Rex saved my life. I then took out the final bandit. Oh, that was extremely intense. We did it! We defeated the barbarian warlord! I couldn't believe it. I continued to loot the ruins to see what the barbarian was protecting, and yes, I found it, the rest of my armor set, and also some sort of staff, which allows me to teleport back home. This was amazing. I decided to take out the rest of the bandits, taking out the rest of the warlord's army. Now it's time to head back. Wow. We did it. 100 days in ancient Egypt. Wait. Oh, I left Rex. My tale begins like so many others. The year is 2086 in the future, and robots are our friends. But then it all changed. Our cyborg king turned against us. Technology could no longer be trusted, and they plotted to destroy Paradise City, the most technologically advanced city in the galaxy. This was the last time I would ever see my home. Futuristic monsters have taken over the world that we once knew, forcing civilization from its once vibrant homes into small colonies. I have 3 goals. My first, to rebuild civilization. Second, to attain full mecha armor and laser weapons. Third, kill the Cyber King for a tier 3 hoverboard. I'm going to attempt to survive 100 days in the future in hardcore Minecraft. I'm the coffee fuel genius. Can I achieve my goals? Let's find out. Day 1. Lost in the futuristic plains. Our journey begins.
Oh, looks like an abandoned colony. Let's go check it out.
I hesitantly entered the abandoned city, hopping over the ravine. I was hoping to find some juicy loot to help me on my futuristic journey. I was looking for anything that could help me rebuild civilization. I searched high and low to find things, but I didn't have much luck. So I decided to head out and try and get some wood to craft the basics. But I encountered a problem. I couldn't even craft planks. The wood was dead. Technology no longer needs nature. This was going to be difficult. I decided to head deeper into the abandoned city in hopes to find live wood, but I had no luck until this moment. I came across an old preservation center, so I grabbed a bunch of dirt and built my way up and headed in. I couldn't believe it. A biome filled with nature. It gave me hope for mankind. Life was thriving here. I grabbed a bunch of wood and then I made a crafting table. And once I made the crafting table, I made a full set of wooden tools. I then came across a chicken hiding in the bushes. Finally, some food. It was just too quiet. A rogue cyborg was coming after me, so I gave it everything I had, striking it down. The mechanical zombie was taken care of, so I grabbed some more food, but it wasn't over. More cyborgs and robots were coming after me. I tried looking for an escape, but I was met with the futuristic plains smothered in robotics. There was no way I could survive. So instead, I grabbed some more resources, killed some food, and then almost lost my life fighting a robot spider. But I survived. It was time to head underground. This was too dangerous. Heading underground, I was met with futuristic blocks, but I couldn't mine them. So instead, I grabbed stone, iron, and coal and made myself some stone tools and cooked up my food. I guess I was here for the night. I made myself an iron sword as well. Look at this. Great progress made in just a few days. No time to waste. I grabbed my resources and headed back up. Grabbed some more food and headed out into the plains. I thought my best bet was to make a jump into the water, so here goes nothing. Turns out the water was poisonous. This could be it. This is where it could all end.
No. Gotta eat.
The poison wore off pretty quickly. Whew, that was a pretty close one, but I was still surrounded by cyborgs and the night's enemies. This was gonna be a long night.
After battling the robots all night, I dedicated some time to grabbing resources, coal, iron, and more cobblestone. It wasn't easy, but with a tactical mindset, I survived the night. During my exploration, I came across a robotic chicken. These things are amazing. Why, you ask? It's because they contain circuitry, and with circuitry, I can craft the tech pickaxe and the tech sword, making me even stronger, so I can survive ambushes like this. Cyborgs can survive the high temperatures, so these guys were more of a challenge than ever before. After calculating my moves, I turned around and struck back at the cyborgs chasing me, taking both their lives. That was a close one. I was feeling pretty unstoppable, but we had to keep moving to rebuild civilization. I continued deeper into the futuristic plains and came across a bunch of sheep, so I crafted some shears and grabbed as much wool as possible so I could make a bed. This was huge. Also, the trees were alive here, so I grabbed as much wood as possible and crossed my fingers for a sapling. And I got one step closer to rebuilding the colony. I also came across another preservation center, but this time with buildings inside. So I snuck in, tackling the enemies. I carefully attacked these guys. One wrong move and it's all over. One explosion and my life can be taken. I dedicated some time to clear the area. I could hear villagers, but instead I was met with robotic skeletons. This was a challenge, but with perseverance I took them both out. It was time to find those villagers. I could hear them, but I couldn't see them. Until this moment. He was being attacked by a robotic skeleton, so after taking his life, the villager asked me to save the others inside. So I headed in. The villager asked me to clear the basement, so I grabbed the brewing stand and bookshelf I found and then cleared out the cyborgs. But it wasn't an easy task. I got to work. I destroyed the first cyborg, making my way through the corridor to take on the second. This was going to be a challenge. I was taking these robot fiends on left, right, and center, clearing the basement of all robotic danger. We don't mess around in the future. It was time to continue with my goals. I decided to rebuild the colony here. This is where I would make all of my futuristic builds and technology. I am going to bring back mankind. This is gonna be fun. I put together a very, very small makeshift build so I had somewhere to sleep for the night, crafted a bed, and got some rest. Big things were on their way, however, I had a lot of work to do in the meantime, so I cooked up my ores, stored things in chests, and then crafted a full set of iron armor. Look at that view, it's pretty neat, I'm not gonna lie. I sweeped the area of cyborgs so it was a little bit safer. I then started working on my strip mine. I wanted to head down and get a bunch of ores. Whilst mining, I came across the advanced creeper. Look at these guys, they don't explode, but they're super fast, and when they catch you, they'll take half your hearts. They're just so intimidating. I mean, look at his face! But I took him out pretty quickly. I then continued mining for days. For what I had planned, I would need excessive amounts of ores. So I got to work, collecting blue lapis, purple, iron, redstone, all the ores required to craft technology. I drilled deeper and deeper into the futuristic depths in my hunt for those beautiful diamonds. And yep, you guessed it, I finally found them. Oh, my most favorite thing of all time. Thank goodness. This was crucial to rebuilding the future. If you're a fan of the channel, you know how much I love strip mining for ores. So I continued doing this for literally days, and I found plenty of what I need. And then it was time to head back up. It was time to head back up and start smelting all of the ores I had collected. The next day, I crafted the tech sword, a heavy sword that does a lot of damage. I then crafted the exosuit helmet, which added a little bit of toughness to my armor. I then got to work smelting up all my ores and storing all of the things that I had collected. It was time to start building automated machinery. There was no way I was going to craft the mecha suit without it, so I made myself a diamond chainsaw and got to work collecting resources. Time to get to work. I chopped down a bunch of wood and finally had enough to craft the wood gear. And with wooden gears, I could make stone gears, and stone gears make iron gears, and iron gears make gold gear. You get what I'm trying to say here. I then killed a bunch of cyborgs and then finally crafted the quarry, a vital piece of machinery I would need to continue my journey. I placed the quarry down, but I was far from finished. I needed glass to craft the engines, and for that, I'd have to go exploring the futuristic plains. So I headed out. Whilst running, I was thinking about the laser guns and mecha armor I would need to fight the Cyborg King.
My tech sword came in clutch when exploring the dangerous futuristic plains, and it was pretty rewarding too. I found a chest filled with loot and some automated bookshelves. I continued exploring the abandoned town on my hunt for sand. But then I encountered a problem. A robot had hunted me down and I was so close to sand. I had to think on my feet. I made a temporary base, crafted a laser bow, and then took all of the cyborgs out, making space to destroy the robot. Finally, I headed over and grabbed a bunch of sand, and then I heard this chicken asking everybody to subscribe. Hello, that's my job. So anyway, subscribe, please. It really helps me out. I then headed home, smelted up all my sand, and finally crafted the Sterling engine. It was time to start putting it all together, so I made a couple of redstone torches, a chest, and then a bunch of piping. I think this would work. No, I need to place the redstone torch. So I placed all of the pipes, sorted out the filters, and then finally got it working. Look at this, it was clearing the area. I was so excited. This thing is so satisfying to watch. Man, I was so excited. One step closer to full mecha armor. Ooh, it's gonna be so much fun. Whilst we chill out and watch the quarry, I just want to say one thing. Can you guys comment what you like so much about my videos? It would really help me out. Also, I just want to say a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. But enough of that, it's time to continue working. The automated machinery was taking its time, and I just didn't want to sit around and do nothing. So I made a few adjustments to the machinery, then crafted a chisel. This would allow me to make some really beautiful futuristic blocks. So then it got me thinking, now's the time to start rebuilding my colony, making buildings for villagers to sleep in. So without further ado, you guessed it was time to start building. You can probably guess that this is my home. This is one of the most flashiest things I think I've ever had in my life, and I was feeling pretty proud of it. I then got to work filling the insides with all the necessities to continue my survival. Look at us go! After this, I then planted a bunch of tree saplings and then took a look at my quarry, but then I punched a sheep down there, which I felt pretty bad about. So, one like equals one prayer? Yeah, let's do that. I then took a look at all of the ores that the quarry was missing. I then made a few adjustments to my house with the chisel, which I thought made it look really futuristic and really nice. But the quarry was still taking its time. So you know what that means? Time to keep on building! I was pretty happy with the first house that I had created, so I got a good night's rest and then carried on in the morning. As you can see, I am constructing a small town, maybe 3 or 4 buildings which would allow me to move the villagers in and start working on rebuilding civilization. I was pretty proud of the work that I put in. After this, I got to work joining all of the builds together with paths, and I had a bunch of marble. That quarry came in clutch for resource collection. Pretty happy with this, not gonna lie. I sure hope my villager friends like it. The mecha suit and laser guns were just around the corner, but in the meantime, I just wanted to take a look around and make sure everything was okay. I then looked at the quarry to see if it collected the correct amount of resources, and oh boy, it did. It was time to head into my home, chill out while my ores smelt, it's a pretty bouncy bed, and then finally craft all of the components to, you guessed it, make the full set of mecha armor. I was so excited to put this bad boy on. Look at me, look how cool I look. However, modular power suits do require the tinker table, so I crafted said item and then got to work customizing it a little bit, just so it looked, you know, a little bit cooler. I then crafted a bunch of diamond plates and installed it in my power suit, making me pretty strong. But I wanted to upgrade it further, and for that, I'd need to head to the nether to get some blaze rods. It's about to get intense. I cleared the area of cyborgs and robots, then headed down to try and get some obsidian. Whilst down there, I wanted to check out the fire resistance of my modular power suit, and man, it did not disappoint. Look at this. It takes ages before my suit overheats and gives out. I'm like chilling out in a lava jacuzzi over here. This would make the nether way more bearable, and taking on those blazes a lot easier. I then found a water source and got to work mining it up. Whilst mining for obsidian, I was thinking about my Discord and how active it is at the moment, so maybe you should go and check it out. I don't know, I'm trying to plug myself here. I then headed back home, crafted a flint and steel, moved my quarry over a little bit to make it more efficient, and then crafted the obsidian portal. Obsidian portal? Wait a minute, it's a nether portal. I covered it in cybernetic technology and lit that bad boy up. It was time to head in. I made myself a diamond sword and entered futuristic hell. This place was absolutely horrific. I had to act quickly, so I built a small structure around my nether portal to keep it protected, and then headed deep into the nether. I came across a bunch of different ores. I then discovered the Cyborg King's army was plotting something here, so I had to take them on and take them out. These guys were extremely quick, but nothing could stop me. I headed deeper into the nether, collecting glowstone and fighting the Cyborg King's army. The nether was no cakewalk, and after a few days, I finally found the nether fortress. I sneakily entered the terrible fortress and went hunting for loot, and I got pretty lucky. I even came across cybernetic technology that would allow me to modify my bone structure with netherwart. Look at this. This would improve my chances of survival incredibly. However, I'd need more components, and I don't have time right now, so I had to keep moving, taking on wither skeletons, and I finally found the Blaze Spawner. I battled the army of blazes. My modular power suit was keeping me cool while I was taking on waves and waves of these fiery blazes. I was collecting blaze rod left, right, and center. It was time to head back. I traveled through gory, fleshy biomes and the deep, dark nether, and then I finally made it back to my nether portal. Crazy few days. It was time to get some rest. The next morning, I sorted out everything I collected, and then I planned on upgrading my mecha armor. But then I heard a strange sound from above my base. It sounded like a hoverboard. There he was! It was the Cyber King, flying over my base! There he was, the Cyber King, the cause of all of this. I had to get my revenge. It was time. So I headed back into my base, used the blaze powder to upgrade my mecha armor, and obtain a plasma cannon. I grabbed some sleep and then headed out, tackling the Cyber King's army as they attacked me. I'd have to move my villagers into the colony another time. It just wasn't safe. I headed out searching for the Cyber King's lair for days, but then I finally found it. Here it was, lathered in cybernetic technology and security cameras. He knew I was coming, but I headed in anyway. There seemed to be a floating card. It was a trap, but I had to go. It was time to fight the Cyber King. I activated the card and teleported to his lair. I left the teleportation chamber and was met with the Cyber King. There he was. He started firing plasma blasts at me. I had to do my best to dodge the shots to survive. He then activated a lever, which opened 2 doors, sending the Cyber King's army after me. The first wave of cyborgs wasn't too difficult, and when I took them all out, it damaged the Cyber King's health. He then started firing plasma charges and then sent another wave of creeper robots, but I took them on, damaging his health. After another wave of cyber charges, he was infuriated. He sent an incredibly large wave of robots, cyborgs, and genetically modified zombies to take me out. They were doing some serious damage, but I took them on with my technology sword. My mecha armor's upgrades powered up and I was feeling pretty invincible, taking on waves after waves of the Cyber King's army. I then ate a golden apple and took on the final wave of robots. The Cyber King was so angry he chased me, and with an explosion, I defeated him and obtained my tier 3 hoverboard. We'd done it! We took out the Cyber King. This thing is so fun to fly around. I was feeling so happy. It was time to head home with my hoverboard. I still had to work on my colony to achieve my final goal. I headed home and took one last look at the hoverboard. Look how cool this thing is. I then grabbed some sleep because tomorrow is villager day. So now it's time to get the villagers from here to my base. This is going to be really, really fun. I can already tell this is going to be a massive pain. I created a sort of staircase that would make its way down to one of the houses, and then I went and made a bunch of rails on a minecart and started connecting the rails together. But my rail building skills are just terrible. Like, for some reason, I just couldn't work out how this is going to work. And then I eventually got there, gave it a little test, and then went ahead and tried to grab a villager. But my goodness me, this guy just would not get inside the minecart. I have no idea why. So I had to think on my feet. So I thought I'd just ride the minecart myself. You know, at least it'll get some use. Yo, this is actually really fun. I don't know why the villager didn't want to do this. I grabbed some sleep and then the next day I brought a boat and I had much more success. The villager finally climbed into the boat and I made my way down very carefully to the bottom. I did a little bit of terraforming, made space for the boat, and then moved them in. Look how happy they are. I think they're happy. They don't talk a lot. I guess I just have to move the rest in. But you haven't got to watch that. I'm going to go and do that right now.
You know, my pa used to tell me, it's better to be a has-been than it never was. Oh, God, I'll run as quick as I can. My little legs can't go much quicker. Johnny, shoot him. Oh, God, he's right behind me. Oh, God. Oh, Lord, he's gonna get me.
I'm going to attempt to survive 100 days in hardcore Minecraft in the Wild West. With a whole new area to explore, new weapons, new enemies to tackle, our journey begins with me, the coffee-fueled genius. Let's go. What's good? Get comfortable, grab your snacks, because we're going on a Wild West journey. I kicked off day one with the basics, collecting wood. Once I'd made the crafting table, I then went ahead and crafted the wooden tools I needed. But then I noticed I was being snuck up on by a wild dog. And there was no way I was dying on day one on our hardcore journey. So I decided to run as fast as I could in the opposite direction. I then spotted a temple, so I decided to go check it out. I made myself a sword and a pickaxe, chewed through the side, and snuck in. I noticed there was a skeleton spawner there, so I decided I wasn't going to take it on, but I also noticed the dogs had stopped following me. So I took advantage of the time and went ahead and got some food. There were a few goats scattered around, so I decided to chop them up and get myself some raw mutton. I chewed through the raw mutton and continued. I don't even know what that was. I carried on collecting goat's meat because I'd need food for the rest of our journey. Then I headed out on day one. Wait a second. The dog had returned. The dog had returned with a friend and I didn't know what to do. If these wild dogs got hold of me, it would be completely over. The one had fled, but one had carried on and hunting me down, so I just had to take it on. 3 hearts of damage from one hit. This was dangerous. Psych! You think I was going to be taken down by some stupid dog? I striked him down. I chewed through the raw mutton and realized this hardcore journey wasn't going to be an easy one, so I located a nearby cave and got to work mining up some cobblestone because I'd make it a lot further with stone tools. Some serious progress made. This cave was serving me well. I carried on collecting cobblestone and then I just kind of worked my way down. I came across a bunch of random ores like uranium and lead, all things I could use to make machinery. I then went ahead and grabbed myself a bunch of coal because I could use coal to make torches, and being down in this cave wasn't so fun in the dark. I came across a huge vein of iron, which was perfect, one step closer to a full set of iron armor. The sun had set, so I decided to stay in the cave for the night. Day 2 was here, so I did a little bit of cave exploring and grabbed a bunch of iron and then made my way out of the cave as the sun had risen. I also realized rats attack you when the sun isn't fully up. Great, another enemy to fight. Just what I need. I then realized I had the full day ahead of me, so it was time to do a bit of exploring. I had to get some food though as well because my health was really low. Nope. If you think for a single second I'm gonna fight a grizzly bear with a stone sword, you're mad. I headed deeper into the Badlands and came across some green, nature-filled area with goats. It was like food heaven. So I decided to make myself like a tiny little camp in the corner. I cooked up my food and then smelted up my ores and made myself some iron. Woohoo! I really wanted to make the projector to make automated machinery, but I just wasn't there yet. So instead I made myself a shield, a vital tool on a hardcore survival journey. I then went ahead and made myself an iron sword, but I didn't have enough resources to make a full set of iron armor. So I decided to head out, chop up some wood, and then go ahead and kill some cows because I needed the food for the journey. But then I was ambushed by a pack of wild dogs. I did my best to block the dogs' attacks, and then I created some distance between us to give me some time to calculate. The fierce wild dogs were relentless and there was nothing I could do to stop them from attacking me. I tried to create some distance, but they just kept chasing me. And then things got serious. With just 2.5 hearts left, I had no choice but to run away and try and create some height. The only thing I could do was use up the cobblestone I had in my inventory to create some height between me and the ravaging dogs. The savage wild dogs chased me up the mountains. I felt like there was no escape. I cracked a side in the mountain and created a small little vantage point. I think I was safe. So I cooked up the meat I had left and then smelted up my ores. I guess I'm here for the night. It was glorious to see the sunrise on day 3. Whew. I can't believe we survived such a close encounter. I decided to head up and over the mountains. I stayed away from any enemies as much as I could. I created a bucket so I could get some more water. It's always good to have a bucket of water on you. I guess it was time to jump down this mountain. Whew, here goes nothing. And I died and the whole thing ended. Nah, I'm joking. I made it. I made it to the bottom of the mountain, and then I carried on my journey across the wildlands. I was hoping to find some civilization and also create that automated machinery I'd spoken about earlier. Day 3, and I was really enjoying the foresty area that I was in. It was a nice, refreshing break from the wildlands. I also found a minecart chest with a bunch of blue lapis in, which was great. I also then came across a load of coal, which I mined up and then headed out across the wildlands. But once again, I was ambushed, but not just from dogs this time, but also rats. The sun was setting and these guys turned evil, and as you can hear, they were chasing me and chasing me. I had no choice but to use my height tactic. I decided to create some distance between me and my foes. This was exhausting. Just 3 days in and this wasn't getting any easier, so I decided to stay here for the night. Day 4 and I was surrounded by horrific weather conditions, but I had no choice but to continue moving forward on our Wild West journey. Lightning striked and it was just too dangerous to stay above ground, so I took advantage and went into the caves to mine up some more ores. I wanted to get that machinery so I could make rifles, weapons and more. I came across some gold ore which was vital to making the projector. I then headed into bedrock level and yes, you guessed it. Finally, some diamonds. Some serious progress made on day 5. I mined up these diamonds and had a total of 6 in my inventory. This was insane, so I decided to head back up. I wanted to keep the momentum going, so I looked out into the distance into the horse-ridden plains and headed deeper into the Wild West. I wonder what challenges lie ahead on this hardcore survival journey. Day 8 and I was deep within the wildlands. I hunted for more food and I quickly realized I was lost. I tried to make a bed with the wool I collected, but it just didn't seem to work in the crafting table. So instead I made some shears to use on the sheep that were stuck up on this mountain with me, but it just didn't seem to work. But then I used the big brain and used the goat's wool and turned it into white wool. I don't know how that worked. But anyway, I made a bed and I got some sleep at the end of day 8. It was great to get a good night's rest, but I had to keep the ball rolling. I smelted up all of my iron ores, took out the dogs that were attacking me, and then made myself a full set of iron armor, and then crafted a diamond pickaxe. Look at us go! I then made my way down the mountain after cooking up some food. We had to keep moving forward. I finally escaped the dusty Badlands and headed towards the desert plains when finally I'd spotted a village. Let's go! But then this happened. The fierce grizzly bear was colossal in stature, towering over me. His giant bear paws were striking me, taking huge health, and no amount of steak could save me. He was striking and striking, almost taking my life. I used my Obi-Wan-like instincts and managed to get the high ground, but he just climbed up. I really didn't know what to do. I just carried on striking and striking, trying to get close enough, and eventually I succeeded. I killed the grizzly bear and taken his bear claw. I crawled over to the western town and the villagers healed me up. They even thanked me for eliminating the bear and freeing the village. They even rewarded me with the engineer's hammer. This would be crucial to making the revolver. I even grabbed myself a wooden storage crate, which worked similar to a shulker box. Wow. I couldn't believe it, some serious progress made. I cleared up the area of enemies and got some sleep. Day 10 was here, it was time to head out and find somewhere to make camp. But then this happened. While heading to the Badlands, I found a nearby camper, but I was also being chased by wild dogs. They almost took my life, so I ran to the camper to see if he could help me out. And, to much surprise, he did. This guy had saved my life, so we chatted for a little while, and I got to know him. He offered me a bunch of insane trades and then sent me on my way, informing me of a location of a nearby camp. I headed over and got to know everybody. This is where I set up camp. I even tamed a hamster nearby because, well, I was kind of bored, and I mean, look how cute they are. Look at it. Oh, he's so cute. I put down all of the things I had in my inventory, spent the evening defending the camp, killing the foes that tried to kill us in our sleep. I decided to make a tent, stick it down, and get a good night's rest. Day 11 was here, so I spent it collecting wood, planting wheat seeds, because I wanted to build a place I could finally call home. Day 16 was here, and I finally finished my little western build. Considering I had barely any resources, I was happy with the turnout. I also need to get a flower for the little pot, because it's looking pretty empty. I also have a bunch of animals now, so things are looking good. Day 17 rolled around, and to get paper, I'd need that sugarcane. But what stood between me and the sugarcane were these snappy little beasts who kept jumping out from the ocean at me. I mean, look at this. Like, on what world does a piranha leap from the depths of the ocean to try and bite your legs off? I had to think on my feet, so I chewed up my meat and then made a bridge over. It was about 2 blocks high. I made it over the little lake, and then I got my hands on that lovely little sugarcane. And then I was an absolute moron, and I fell off the bridge, which, like, I was laughing the whole time I was doing this, but also, like terrified as well. Like, I pooped my pants a little bit because I thought I was going to die. Like, can you imagine if I died to piranhas? You flappy little monsters. Anyway, I ignored them, planted my sugar canes, also some wheat seeds, and then headed back and got a good night's rest. Day 18, and I just realised cows have names. This one's called Angus. Hello, Angus. I smattered out all my ores and waited for the sugar canes to grow, and then I finally had enough to make one book, which then I combined with a lever, and yes, you guessed it, I finally had the engineer's manual. Woohoo! I could finally make the coke oven, which is crucial to progressing. To make the coke oven, I'd have to head out and get a bunch of resources, like sand, clay, so I could make bricks. So I kind of just did that, like dodging piranhas, and got to work. This is fun. I'm loving it. After a good few days of dedication, I had more than enough resources to finally make the coke oven. I looked at the recipe book in the manual and then just got to crafting it. At first I thought I didn't have enough, when in fact actually I had like way too much, like way too much. And then I just kind of bashed my hammer against the front because that's how engineering works. And I finally finished the coke oven, which was amazing. I made a bunch of buckets and then started to collect creosote oil so I could make treated wood, which is crucial to making the revolver. And speaking of the revolver, I'd have to make the engineer's workbench and a bunch of other items. This thing was not as straightforward as I thought. It was a bit of a pain in my backside, I won't lie. But I did remember that from the storage crate we'd found in the village earlier, there was a few things that would, like, speed up the process, like a blueprint and a few steel rods. It wasn't a lot, but I got to make the revolver barrel. It was good to get the ball rolling. I then grabbed some creosote oil and got some sleep. While the Wild West slept, I was thinking about how I could kill the Ender Dragon with a revolver. Day 26, and it was time to get a wiggle on. I soaked all of my wooden planks in creosote oil, making them treated wood planks, which would allow me to construct the engineer's workbench. I built it outside in this really, like, quickly accessible thing, and then it was time to make bullets. I was making huge progress. I grabbed the blueprint and then had a look at what I'd need to make the cartridges. It was pretty straightforward, actually. Big progress. Alright, partner. Day 27 was here, and I smattered up all my ores and then made myself a couple of wooden grips for the revolver, which was huge. I then, like, forgot how to make the wooden casings, which was, like, kind of funny. So I checked the book, and then I made a bunch of bullets for the revolver, which was huge. I know I didn't have a revolver yet, but it was nice to have the ammo there. I wonder what tomorrow would bring. Fresh-faced and bright-eyed, day 28, I headed into a strip mine. Everything was cooking back at home, and so I thought it was time to get some diamonds. I tore through chunky cobblestone for a good few days and found myself a bunch of diamonds. I was collecting these bad boys left, right, and center. I even found some emeralds, which was like a pretty big bonus. I then decided to head back to see if I had enough to make full diamond armor. I made it home and you guessed it, I constructed a full set of diamond armor. Day 43 was a bit more of a chilled one. I tended to my little farm, my animals, and then I thought I'd head into my strip mine because I wanted to grab obsidian. I was pretty determined to make that nether portal, so I just dedicated a lot of time to collecting obsidian. And then I tried to look cool for the video and place things with both hands, but I was holding obsidian. Look, I placed obsidian. I messed up. I was so annoyed. Do you know how long this thing takes to mine? I know it's not that long, but it's just a bit of a pain in my backside. I then headed back to get some sleep because the next day I wanted to make the nether portal. So I gathered a bunch of resources, made a flint and steel, headed to the area where I'd build it, and yep, you guessed it, got to work. The build was complete. I sparked up that flint and steel and opened a portal to the underworld. I made a secret room as well behind in this weird terracotta tower. I don't know. I then killed a bunch of endermen to grab some ender pearls because I'd need that to progress to the ender dragon. I then wanted to make the crude blast furnace, but to make that, well, you need blaze powder, and for that, you guessed it, we're heading into the nether. I was so nervous. It could all end here. As I stepped into Hell's Gates, I was greeted with sweltering conditions. This place was terrifying. I could hear ghasts screaming in the distance. I quickly encased my nether portal in protection, grabbed some netherrack, and headed deeper into the nether. I trudged through netherrack for days, traversing over the sea of lava, making my way very carefully around corners. But what awaited me was something far more dangerous than I could have ever imagined. It was a nether fortress, enriched in blazes, firing their fireballs towards me. I used my shield and diamond sword to take them out. I was hoping to collect some blaze rods, but the first one, I'd lost it. I just had to carry on fighting. I was attacked by waves and waves of blazes. I didn't know what to do. One fired their fireball, and all I had was defense. After fighting the blazes for ages, I headed back home with the blaze rods. I had to make it back quickly. I had finally made it home. Blaze rods ready to go. Day 67 was here, and I was ready to make the crude blast furnace, but I had to let everything cook first. So, in the meantime, I planted some sugar canes, smashed up some iron ingots into steel plates, and went out and killed some endermen. I was just sort of doing little jobs here and there, killed more endermen. What the hell? I then finally constructed the crude blast furnace. I built it outside my house, slapped my hammer on the front, you know the drill, and then finally made myself some steel ingots, which was a pretty big deal, to be fair. That's big progress. I then killed some more endermen, and then, you guessed it, I constructed the revolver. Look at me, I feel like a real cowboy. Hey, howdy, partner, I'm a cowboy who got the gun and stuff. And then, day 74, a rat stole my revolver. Can you imagine after all that hard work? I'd lost it. Anyway, back to being cool. Well, I shoot the dog, I made a bow and put bullets in the thing and killed stuff. Yeah, and then I went and killed some endermen. And anyway, enough of that. I headed deeper into the Wild West. Oh, I like how cool this revolver is. Bam! And the bear was dead in 3-4 shots. That's insane. I then spoke to a local camper, got a good night's rest, and then sold some emeralds for a pouch, which then I'd store the ender pearls I collect while I go out. Killed more stuff with my revolver, and then just kind of spent my time taking out endermen, grabbing those ender pearls, making big progress. I then realized I was running out of time, so I guess it was time to go and face that ender dragon. I had big plans for my little area. I know I hadn't built a lot so far, but I was hoping in my 200 days to make the enchantment table and build some big stables. I had huge plans. I was really excited. I got a good night's rest, ready for the big day. I threw my first Eye of Ender. And so there it was, the first Eye of Ender, guiding me in the direction I needed to go. I headed deep into the Wild West. I made my way over huge piranha-infested waters and then traveled up giant mountains, This was a challenge in itself. I continued following those eyes, heading into different biomes. The blazing sun was scorching. I traveled for days on end trying to find that stronghold, fighting different enemies. I eventually came to this location, but it was underwater and I was gonna drown, so I found a nearby cave and mined sideways inwards, mining down deeper and deeper, when eventually I came to those mossy cobblestone walls. I had found the stronghold. Now it was time to find that portal. I navigated the maze-like corridors in the stronghold. I found a couple of chests here and there with ender pearls in, but I just couldn't seem to find the end portal. I killed creepers and cooked up some food, and then I finally found it, eliminating the silverfish spawner. I then placed the Eye of Enders in. This was the moment I take on the Ender Dragon. I was so nervous. I couldn't wait to kill this thing with the revolver. It was time to jump in. I was here, in the end. I took out the first tower with my bow. Incredible accuracy. I tried to take a shot at the dragon with my revolver. Okay. This is going to be really hard to watch. And, I actually, teared up a little bit while I did this as well. Because after hours and hours of work, this happened. I'm just going to let the clip play out. But I warn you, it's not fun. Yep, so shooting the revolver attracts every single Enderman in the end. How was I meant to know? I was livid. I took a look in spectator mode at everything I'd built so far. I had so much planned for this. Even my animals were left all alone. I guess I just have to move on. So I made it to the 100th day and, well, the revolver decided to do me dirty. What a plot twist. So annoying. If you guys think I should try again, you could comment below. I really enjoy making this for you guys. I now have a Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram that'll all be linked in the description below. As always, I'm the Coffee Fuel Genius. Peace, love, and positivity, baby. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.